At the end of the Ice Age, I accumulated tens of billions of supplies. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 626 Strange Couple. Of course Liang Yu didn't dare to squeeze into the same bed with Zhang Yi. At their age, it is normal for them to accidentally misfire a gun. Zhang Yi was fine. He was not short on weekdays, but it was Liang Yu himself. Ahem. Let's not mention it. No way. Zhang Yi had to let her sleep on the bed while he rested on the sofa in the living room. With his own people, he is quite a gentleman. Zhang Yi woke up early the next morning. He didn't rest very well this night. At least he couldn't sleep until he woke up naturally like at home. Thinking of the troubles he will face next, he also has hidden worries in his heart. Everything is unknown, and the unknown is the scariest thing. After washing up in the morning, he sat in the living room and turned on the TV. In the Jiangnan region, they also have their own TV channel. After all, the city still maintains normal operations. TV entertainment programs are the cheapest form of entertainment for the residents of Blizzard City. But basically don't even think about having new programs. All you watch are past film and television works. But every day, Jiangnan TV station broadcasts news. Zhang Yi turned on the TV and watched the morning news of JNTV1. In the camera, the female anchor is a girl with long hair and a sweet smile. Compared with the past, the current anchors are much more open in their clothing. You can even clearly see her unsatisfactory desire, which was unimaginable in the past. But Zhang Yi can also understand. This method is also a means of comforting the residents, especially the few men who have no partners. On April 4th, the Ronin organization Neon, which came across the sea from Neon, has been fully monitored by the region. Their movements are completely within our field of vision. At present, the headquarters has launched a combat meeting to gather superior forces to wipe out this group of invaders in one fell swoop. The outdoor temperature has picked up a bit today, and the daytime temperature can reach -52°C. Residents are requested to take measures to keep warm. Zhang Yi watched with relish. Although the content was boring and true and false, it was live news after all, and he hadn't read it for a long time. You can vaguely feel the taste of a peaceful era. Soon, Liang Yu also woke up. She came to the living room, and when she thought of being in the same room with Zhang Yi last night, she bit her lip, feeling a little complicated. I didn't expect Zhang Yi to be so honest at night. Could it be that she is not attractive enough? Although in terms of appearance, she is a bit inferior to Zhao Ke and Yang Mi, but she is even better in other aspects. For example, martial arts and the like. Liang Yu was taken aback by the thought in her mind, and quickly shook her head vigorously, throwing away this thought. In fact, this is no wonder to her. The huge pressure caused by the external environment, coupled with her age at this time, will inevitably make her think about the few outstanding men around her. Zhang Yi saw her and said hello. Wake up. Wait a minute, do you want to eat something? Zhang Yi was referring to the food stored in his different space. As for the meals provided by the apartment, they will not be delivered by someone until 7 o'clock. Zhang Yi never ate those things. There is no way. Blizzard City's supplies are limited, and it is impossible to provide them with a big meal. Liang Yu shook her head. I'm not hungry yet. She walked over and sat a little far away from Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi didn't notice anything unusual, and he was still sitting on the sofa, watching TV boredly. However, at this moment, his heart was not as peaceful as it appeared on the surface. He was both nervous and looking forward to the next meeting. After a while, service staff pushed a dining cart and came to deliver food to them. The breakfast is quite rich. The standard configuration is 2 boiled eggs, a cup of soy milk, a side dish and 2 steamed stuffed buns each. When it was delivered, it was still steaming hot, making people really want to eat a few bites. However, Zhang Yi fluently put them into the different space and then took out a table of delicacies from the different space to share with Liang Yu. At 8:30 in the morning, he received a call from Bailey Changqing, informing him to go to the combat center at 9 o'clock. Without saying a word, Zhang Yi took Liang Yu with him and rushed there. When he walked out of the apartment building, He happened to see two people cuddling up close in front of him, spreading dog food as they walked. The living area in Block B is large, and not everyone lives in one place. Zhang Yi looked around. It was so quiet that a needle could be heard falling, and there was no one else but them. Therefore, he concluded that the two people in front must be strangers from the outer city. Zhang Yi didn't say hello, but just pulled Liang Yu and kept a distance from them. If you don't know the opponent's abilities, it's best not to approach easily, otherwise you will be easily tricked. Liang Yu also looked at the two people in front curiously. It seems to be a young couple. The male looks to be only 24 years old, not tall, and wearing a white down jacket. The girl next to him was a head taller than him, so she couldn't see her face clearly, but she could hear her smiling heartily. The most interesting thing is that the relationship between the couple is more interesting. The little boy has been holding the girl's arm tightly, leaning against her intimately. On the contrary, that girl looked neat and generous, and walked vigorously. I seem to have seen them before. Zhang Yi thought to himself. It seems to be a stranger from Xiang City. Zhang Yi didn't understand the rest. At the first meeting, everyone was just familiar with each other, and they knew almost nothing about each other's intelligence. The impression of these two people in front of him was even shallower. No matter who sees them, they will think that this is a very normal young couple, and it is difficult for them to make people feel vigilant. However, being able to appear in this place at this time has already shown that their strength is absolutely extraordinary. Sure enough, people can't be judged by their appearance. Zhang Yi couldn't help but sigh with emotion. The distance was relatively close, and the two people in front must have noticed Zhang Yi, but they seemed to treat Zhang Yi as if they didn't exist and didn't care that they were talking nasty love words there. Zhang Yi was fine, but Liang Yu frowned and kept wiping her arm vigorously. What happened? Zhang Yi asked curiously. I got goosebumps, Liang Yu said through gritted teeth. For an older single dog like her, the scene in front of her was really unbearable. Zhang Yi couldn't help laughing, then turned his head away, as if nothing had happened. Calm down, don't think they are a simple couple. Liang Yu gritted her teeth, stared at them and said, I understand, but it's just looking angry. Two groups of people came to the combat center one after the other. Chapter 627. When Zhang Yi and the couple came to the combat center, someone was there to welcome them at the door. Probably because the information was entered into the data system. So when they saw them, the woman who received them smiled and said, everyone, please follow me. The meeting room is on the 16th floor. Zhang Yi and the couple took the elevator to the 16th floor. After the elevator door closed, the five people were very close to each other in the small space. This also gave Zhang Yi the opportunity to see the couple's appearance clearly. The male has a standard boy-female appearance, with a baby face, fair skin like a girl, plus his small stature and round eyes. It is even a little unclear to distinguish between men and women at first glance. From the moment we met, his eyes have been quietly looking at Zhang Yi, the flowers on his shoulders, and the lovely light in his eyes. You can tell he's a cat lover. As for the girls, it's the other way around, with a strong body and temperament. When Zhang Yi watched them secretly, the two were also looking at him and Liang Yu. Not long after, the girl said, you two should be from Xianhai City? When Zhang Yi heard this, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. You know us? The girl smiled disapprovingly. The last time you came to Blizzard City, you were very famous. But you didn't have a good reputation back then. But this time, it's really surprising that you can come here. She looked Zhang Yi up and down generously, with surprise in her eyes. Because of Chen Jingwen being hanged and beaten by Sun Jianming, people in other cities thought that Xianhai City was weak. But today, Zhang Yi appeared here. Obviously they were also invited by the headquarters. This proved the strength of Zhang Yi and the two, which inevitably surprised the woman. It's nothing too surprising. Zhang Yi didn't explain too much. Due to the lack of news about the destruction of the alien alliance in Days City, it has not been spread yet. So it's normal for the couple to be unclear. I remember you are from Xiang City, right? Haven't asked for advice yet? Out of sincerity, Zhang Yi introduced himself. Oh, by the way, my name is Zhang Yi, and she is Liang Yu. Zhang Yi did not call Liang Yu by names, like subordinate or subordinate. After hearing Zhang Yi's self-introduction, the girl folded her arms and said cautiously, "My name is Zhang. The person next to me is my husband Yuan Hao." A tense expression appeared on Yuan Hao's face. While waving his hands, he explained to Zhang Yi and the two, "Actually, we are not married yet. It's just a relationship between boyfriend and girlfriend." Zhang gave a TSK, grabbed his neck, stared at him and said domineeringly, "It's time like this. I said you are my husband, and you are. Do you understand?" But Yuan Hao looked up at her, with the appearance of a little white rabbit, which really made me feel pity. He nodded. I see. Zhang Yi and Liang Yu always wanted to laugh. Such a pairing is really interesting, but it's not uncommon in today's society. The most important thing is that Zhang Yi will not feel contemptuous of them because of their state. Again, no one who could be invited to Blizzard City to participate in this operation was Yi. Suddenly, Zhang wiped Yuan Hao's lips with her hand and then directly kissed her domineeringly. This feeling of being alone made Zhang Yi raise his eyebrows and exclaimed in his heart that he was amazing. Liang Yu was very embarrassed and didn't know where to look. Fortunately, not long after, with a ding, the elevator reached the 16th floor, and the deep kiss between Zhang and Yuan Hao was not over yet. It seemed like nothing could interrupt them. It was the waitress who reminded them softly that they reluctantly separated. Facing the eyes of Zhang Yi and Liang Yu, Yuan Hao was a little shy and buried his head in Zhang arms. Zhang, on the other hand, looked indifferent. With her head held high, she walked towards the meeting room with her arms around him. "Awesome." Zhang Yi sighed while shaking his head. Miao Hua squatted on Zhang Yi's shoulder, but suddenly called out. Zhang Yi turned his head and saw that Hua was staring at their backs with piercing eyes. It seems that something unusual has been found. It's a pity that Zhang Yi doesn't understand cat language, so he can't communicate with it. He was a little more vigilant and walked to the meeting room with Liang Yu. After stepping into the door of the conference room, Zhang Yi found that there were already many people waiting inside. Counting them, there are about 10 people. This small meeting room is arranged in a circular shape, and almost everyone keeps a certain distance between them. Except for a pair of women on the left, their seats are next to each other, and they seem to be acquaintances. Zhang Yi quickly sized them up, and couldn't tell much just by looking at them. So he took Liang Yu, and found an open space to sit down. After the other people sized up the newcomer, they also quickly closed their eyes, and then the entire conference room could hear a needle drop in silence. Zhang Yi did not see Bailey Changqing or Deng Shentong and others. According to his guess, these people should come with Zhu Zheng. Sure enough, things went as he expected. When the time was about to reach 9 o'clock, there was a burst of intensive footsteps outside. Everyone followed the prestige, only to see a handsome middle-aged man walking into the meeting room with his head held high. Behind him, there are still 5 or 6 people following. Everyone is familiar with this person, and it is Zhu Zheng, the supreme commander of the Jiangnan region. And behind him are his bodyguard Sun Luxun, Secretary Lan Xincheng, Head of Operations Tu Yunli, Xianshan Team Leader Deng Shentong, and Black Robe Team Leader Bailey Changqing. After Zhu Zheng walked in, he glanced at the crowd, and then confirmed to the Secretary Lan Xincheng behind him, "Is everyone here?" Lan Xincheng nodded. "It's all here." "Ah, that's good." He walked to the front of the meeting room with strides. Others also found places to sit down. Zhu Zheng put his hands on the table and said seriously, "Everyone, I think you all know the purpose of calling you here today. Just a few days ago, we sent to Linhai City to wipe out the vanguard of the Ronin organization, Eclipse Moon, and failed. Already." He knocked on the table. "This defeat has sounded the alarm for us. The rogue organization that appeared in Linhai City this time is very powerful, and it must not be underestimated. Because of this, I recruited elites from the entire Jiangnan region to participate in this operation. That is to say, all of you here are the elite among the elite. I'm very pleased that you can appear here. Especially some comrades, without the slightest hesitation, came here resolutely, expressing that they will do their best to drive out the bandits. I'm very moved." Chapter 628 Landing Faction. Zhu Zheng's impassioned speech opened the prelude to this meeting. He didn't make a long speech because everyone present basically knew what happened. Next, we will use the Celestial Squad as the main force to form a special force. It will be responsible for handling this incident. ZHU Zheng said, looking at Bailey Changqing. As for the Black Robe team, since they just finished their mission in Qianhe City, they are still in a state of rest, so don't directly participate in the operation for the time being. However, Bailey Changqing, as a veteran, can provide tactical support in this operation. Bailey Changqing gave military salute. Yes, the aliens in the outer city were prepared for the above content, so they didn't have any opinions. They just listened silently. From the perspective of identity and status, they only need to obediently obey the arrangements of the headquarters. But ZHU Zheng took the time and thought to explain to them, which can be regarded as a kind of respect for them. ZHU Zheng pressed the table and said, if you don't have any opinions on the arrangement of this operation, then the highlight of today will be next. When the first batch of aliens we sent out performed their missions, the video devices they carried with them took precious videos. These are the important information we have collected about the eclipse. Everyone watch the video first and have a general understanding of the enemies we will face next. Then I want to hear your opinions. After ZHU Zheng finished speaking, he signaled Lan Xincheng to play the video, and he sat down slowly. Everyone's expressions turned serious. Collecting intelligence is crucial to the battle of aliens. They also wanted to see what was so great about those Ronin, that they were able to wipe out 10 alien organizations in the outer city in just 1 hour. This has a great impact on their next actions, and even determines their life and death. The lights in the conference room were turned off, and a huge projection appeared on the wall, playing the video saved from that day. At the very beginning of the screen, everyone saw the alien organization in Haeng City that was attacked first, the team led by Panjai Aluo. The playing time of the video was very long. Although it was edited, it was still played for more than 3 hours in order to ensure that no key information was missed. From the perspective of many people, it basically restored the battle that the top 10 alien organizations faced that day. Even so, the integrity of the video is not enough. Because of some of the fights, the video didn't even manage to fully capture the footage because it ended so quickly. During the whole process, everyone watched very carefully, even reluctant to blink their eyes. After watching the video, Lan Xincheng came to the front and solemnly said to everyone, in addition to the information collected on the spot, our headquarters has also collected information about the Eclipse Moon group through various intelligence channels. Please everyone, take a look. In addition, I will pass all the video data to everyone later. Zhang Yi felt at ease, so he felt more at ease. In the process of watching, many details may be missed. He needs to watch it several times to study the abilities and characteristics of those Ronin. Immediately afterwards, Lan Xincheng opened a document and conveyed it to everyone through projection. Eclipse Organization, from the Neon Kanto region. There are a total of 13 members. Before the end of the world, their identities were all kinds of professionals in society, not professional combat troops. After the apocalypse, the leader of the Eclipse team, Feng Huangyuanren, began to gather powerful aliens, forming the powerful and vicious existence of the Eclipse team. When they were in Kanto, they were already a feared executioner organization. And they didn't want to survive, but massacred the aliens in Kanto in a cruel way. According to part of the information provided by the current management organization, Izumo, in Kanto, the reason why they carried out such a large-scale massacre of aliens is because they first discovered that aliens above the delta level can absorb the alien energy of others to complete evolution of itself. Because of this, the Izumo organization began to rely on the power in their hands to launch a campaign against the Eclipse. According to Izumo, the Eclipse is a Ronin who was defeated by them and had to escape from the sea. Lan Xincheng pushed his glasses, and the blue light flickered on the lenses, carrying a strange smell. However, there is another saying that they are loyal believers of the Neon Landing faction. It's not that Izumo drove them away, but they chose to land on their own and came to our territory. Zhang Yi learned a lot of new terms. For example, Neon's current division of forces, such as the Landing faction. Although it is very novel, it sounds confusing, and this feeling is not very good. Zhang Yi raised his hand and said, "Excuse me, what does the landing group mean?" Lan Xincheng pushed his glasses. The landing faction is a kind of extreme ideology that Neon has always existed. Since the Restoration movement, some people in Neon have put forward the idea that the archipelago is not conducive to the development of the Neon race. The most far-reaching and well-known idea is the theory of Neon sinking. This kind of thinking believes that as an island country, Neon is far away from the continental shelf, and one day it will be affected by the movement of the continental plate and sink to the bottom of the sea. And the final destination of the Neon people must be on the continental plate, and then they can survive. In short, in the eyes of the landing faction, they must leave the Neon land. Then, the most ideal new habitat in their eyes is on the other side of the sea. Zhang Yi muttered to himself, the other side of the sea. But, this is also unreasonable. He analyzed carefully, if you want to land, it is undoubtedly the easiest to land from Silla and Beach. And that small place, I'm afraid there is no strong force to defend it? Lan Xincheng nodded. You're right. If it's the landing faction in the past, it is true that they first marched from Silla and Beach, and then they will plot the territory of Huaguo. However, it's an ice age now. Things are different. The leader of the Eclipse group sent a video before, asking us to give them a piece of land in the central claims to live in. This means that they are worried that after the glaciers melt, the coastal areas will also be submerged by soaring seawater. Lan Xincheng added, the landing faction is a group of lunatics with a serious sense of urgency. If it weren't for the fact that the living conditions at high altitudes are too difficult, I even doubt that they would have the idea of taking the plateau area. Chapter 629 3 Eclipses. After listening to Lan Xincheng's explanation, Zhang Yi couldn't help frowning slightly. Because of the idea of the landing group, he also had it. There is no sign of the arrival of the Ice Age, and manpower cannot compete with nature. No one knows when it will end. And when the global ice age ends and the temperature warms up, it will inevitably melt with the ice and snow, causing a huge torrent to sweep across the world. At that time, Qianhe City on the coastline will definitely be submerged by seawater. It has to be said that the Neon people are very prescient in this regard, which is also related to the special living environment of their island country. Of course, Zhang Yi would not sympathize with them. Now that natural disasters are coming, who can survive depends on their own ability. They want to occupy the fertile land of the Central Plains. It is completely wishful thinking. Humph. Zhang Yi suddenly heard a cold snort, accompanied by the sound of smashing the table. Everyone followed the prestige, only to see that it was a man who was tightly wrapped in grey and white clothes, wearing an exaggerated hat, and almost his whole body was wrapped up. With a fierce look in his eyes, he gritted his teeth and said, "These damned thieves even dare to plot in the Central Plains. They are so reckless. We must kill them all, and then let those dogs on the island take a look, offend our fate." Although the man disrupted the meeting with his agitation, no one spoke out to criticize him. At this time, none of the people was filled with righteous indignation, and wanted to punish those Ronin severely, and then deter those young people around who had plans. Lan Xincheng waited until the man's mood stabilized before continuing. In short, this is the origin of the Eclipse organization. They are not composed of professional members such as soldiers and special police, but are truly Ronin. However, its leader, Feng Huangyuanren, has 5 years of military service experience. We will talk about this next. Then we will introduce the information of each of them. Neon also provided some information, but due to concerns about the authenticity of the information, we will not refer to it. The following content is all sourced from our own sources. I won't read it anymore. There is more content. Please check carefully for yourself. Lan Xincheng retreated, and the content in the projection became the information of the members of the Eclipse team. Everyone couldn't help but sit up straight and read the contents of the file word by word. Although they all hated this group of Ronin, they had to admit that the strength of these guys was terrifying. The following is some information about the 13 members of the Eclipse group. 1. Team leader, Ren Fenghuang, male, 36 years old. Enhanced abilities, unknown abilities, served in the Neon Maritime Self-Defense Force from 2033 to 2037. Note, it was not found in the first battle, so there is no accurate ability information too. Mayumi Takuchi, female, 22 years old. The descendant of the Neon Takuchi family, a novice ancient shrine maiden. Ability unknown. Note, it was not found in the first battle, so there is no accurate ability information. 3. Nobunaga Tsukamoto, male, 33 years old. Originally named Tsukamoto Oki, later changed his name to Tsukamoto Nobunaga. Urshan's first-class contemporary heirs. It is not necessary to pass on the ranks of swordsmen and masters of Juan/Wukai, who was imprisoned in 2042 for beheading his opponent in a duel, was released 7 years later. Strengthening is a different person, and the ability is unknown. Note, in the first battle, he fought against Li Xianlong in Yangzhou and captured him alive. 4. Dagongze Yanjin, male, 33 years old. Former Neon Sumo wrestler, Yokozuna rank. Beast type ability user, ability codename Cheohu. Weapon, Dragonfly Cut. Note, an extremely powerful melee alien. In the first battle, he single-handedly wiped out the 2 alien teams of Xiang Meng Shucheng and Bachan Li Guoqiang. Point extremely dangerous. 5. Seiichiro Jinguji, male, 42 years old. Before the end of the world, his identity was a stock trader. Those who release the ability is unknown. Note, in the first battle, its screen could not be captured. 6. Akatsu Shinichiro, male, 29 years old. Former backbone member of Yafen Group in Chiba Prefecture. Enhanced ability uses armor lay aliens who fight with baseball bats. 7. Shengun Eideo, male, 38 years old. A former professional baseball player who played for the Three Ship Owners Baseball Club. The Orc type ability user, whose ability code is Big Snake, can transform into a 15-meter long ancient giant snake. 8. 40 or 50 Changwu, male, 19 years old. Became a knighter after graduating from high school. Unknown ability, did not appear in the first battle. 9. My wife Nanako, female, is 26 years old. Former member of the Neon Girl Group KBA 48 Reserve. A person with special abilities. The ability code is Scythe Weasel. Currently known abilities. 1. Create illusions through rhythm. 2. Use sound waves to attack the inside of the human body. 10. Takashi Takizawa, male, 27 years old. Formerly a network engineer of Zendaoc Group. The person who releases the ability code is Super Electromagnetic Gun, and can control the electric current to fight. 11. Mayu's Hanachi-io, female, 24 years old. Heir of the Neon Ninja family, proficient in ninjutsu. Because most of his shots are sneak attacks, he will not take the initiative to show up to fight, so the picture of his shots was not captured. Ability unknown. 12. Akira Kurosawa, male, 34 years old. Former member of the Neon Maritime Self-Defense Force, later retired. Those who release abilities, codenamed Practice Justice, can use special weapons to release supernatural attacks. 13. Yoshimitsu Sakuraba, male, 28 years old. Point road workers in Nara Prefecture. Capabilities unknown, footage of which was not captured in the first campaign. The above is basically all the information of the Eclipse organization. After Zhang Yi finished reading, he felt speechless. These materials are too little, and it is impossible to obtain the means of defeating the enemy from them. The most is to be more careful when encountering members of the Eclipse. It seems that so many people were sacrificed in the first battle, and there was not much meaningful information in return. After reading the materials and videos, ZHU Zheng sat on a chair and carefully examined everyone. Everyone, I have read all the information in my hand now. Do you have anything to say? If you have any good suggestions for the next action, or if you still have questions in your mind, you can raise them at this time. Let's discuss together. After all, compared to Blizzard soldiers who are better at group combat, you are experts in the field of lone wolves. This also expressed ZHU Zheng's true thoughts. It can be seen from the combat methods of the Eclipse that they are not good at group combat. After all, everyone is a lone wolf put together by members of the Phoenix Academy. But this time, the dozen or so Delta level aliens summoned from the outer city could be said to be of the same kind as them. Chapter 630 Squad 3. Under ZHU Zheng's encouragement, someone really spoke first. The first person to speak was one of the pair of female aliens sitting together. It seems to be for the convenience of fighting. She has very short hair, and she always has a serious and focused expression on her oval face. This is Chen Xiaoxiao, a stranger from Bachung. She graduated from a national key university and has served as the chairman of the student union all year round. She does not have much bureaucratic atmosphere, but she always gives people a feeling of energy, as if she will never get tired. This kind of positive spirit also allowed her to quickly pull up a huge team in the last days. Make it the leader of the most powerful forces among the 7 forces of the 4 meetings and 3 factories in Bachung. Chen Xiaoxiao sat on the chair, smiled, and calmly analyzed. From the video just now, I sense something is wrong. Although these rogues are all very strong, they should be at the Delta level on average. But even so, they shouldn't have eliminated 10 heavily armed alien organizations so quickly. I have had this kind of doubt before, but after watching the video today, the doubt in my heart is even deeper. Zhang Yi couldn't help but look at her more. Zhu Zheng also looks sideways at her. Oh, what doubts do you have? Chen Xiaoxiao said, the reason why the 10 alien troops we sent out in the first batch were dealt with so easily is because they all encountered the type that they were least good at dealing with. She crossed her arms. We all know that Jiren's abilities are all kinds of strange, each with their own strengths and weaknesses. So there is an extremely obvious restrained relationship between different abilities. Those who are good at long distance attacks are afraid of being close. Those who are strengthened are afraid of being kitted, and so on. Zhu Zheng nodded approvingly. You are right. We have already discovered the problem in this regard. Chen Xiaoxiao smiled, nodded at Zhu Zheng and said, then you should understand what my concerns are. With a straight face, Zhu Zheng said to Chen Xiaoxiao and everyone present very seriously. I can assure you. During the first battle, absolutely no one leaked information. This is not only the trust in all the personnel of the Jiangnan Region Combat Command Center, it is even more trust in the network defense system of the headquarters. No one can break through it and pass information to the Eclipse. Chen Xiaoxiao frowned. It would be bad if that was the case. When her good sister Pengli heard this, she couldn't help asking, it would be worse if there were no spies. Why do you say that? Chen Xiaoxiao explained, if there are spies in our headquarters, then the problem is easy to solve. As long as we find out the spies, we can prevent the defeat like the first battle. However, if no one leaks our news, it can only be understood that the other party has a terrifying alien with the ability to obtain information. Among the dozen or so people present, there was more than one person who had the same idea. Like Zhang Yi and Chen Xiaoxiao, they all sensed something was wrong. It's easy to catch spies, but if the opponent has this ability to see the opportunity first, no matter how they fight next, the opponent will find out in advance. Liang Yu couldn't help but propped her chin and said, no wonder our people made the first move in the first battle. In the end, the opponent seemed to have been prepared for the fight. At this time, the man with straight hair and sharp eyes who was sitting not far from Zhang Yi raised his head and spoke. He is from Yangzhou, and his name is Zuo Fiu. Zhu Shui, we have received too much information today. We won't be able to give a better opinion in a while. Could you give us some time, so we can go over the material a bit more? Then we can discuss it? Zhang Yi nodded, and said, I agree with this proposal. If you just read it once, you won't be able to remember many things, and it's hard to speak. Other strangers also raised their hands to express their agreement with Zuo Fiu's proposal. Zhu Zheng thought about it, nodded and said, that's fine, but you don't have much time to think about it. Because time waits for no one. If we delay for a day, those Ronin don't know where they will go. At that time, our compatriots on this land will be in danger. A strange look flashed in Zhang Yi's eyes. As the commander of Blizzard City, Zhu Zheng had no problem thinking so. But do the strangers in the 12 cities really care about the life and death of ordinary people? When they fought for supplies in order to survive, they were more ruthless than each other. Talking about this now, isn't it a bit strange? But after thinking about it carefully, Zhang Yi also felt that it made some sense. Although he was ruthless and ruthless, he was not a very good person. But he asked himself that he would generally not take action against those who had not offended him. And when foreign enemies invade, Zhang Yi is willing to protect this land and the kind and worthy people on this land. For example, for a person like Li Jian, Zhang Yi still hopes that he can survive well in the last days. Leave a ray of fire for human civilization. Zhang Yi couldn't help shaking his head and smiling bitterly. Man is really a complex of contradictions. Immediately afterwards, Zhu Zheng said again, I only give you 1 day to study the information carefully. Then we will make preparations for battle and attack those damned Ronin. Then now, while everyone is here, let me announce the basic grouping for the battle. Due to the strength of the aliens and the Eclipse group, individual actions are too risky, so the 12 people here today will be divided into 3 groups for action. Your mission is to support the Celestial Squad. The Celestial Squad will be responsible for the main attack. In addition, in order to act cheaply, each team has a captain. In the absence of orders from above, all team members must obey the orders of the captain. Hearing this, Zhang Yi frowned. He wants to cooperate with people from other forces. He couldn't help but glanced at the people around him, and the others were also looking around. This mode of action is not bad. Since they are all powerful aliens, if they get together, even if they encounter a powerful enemy, they can delay enough time. It is naturally best to give the Xianshan team a chance to make a move. In the worst ending, you can also get more information about the eclipse. Next, I'll announce the grouping. Zhu Zheng took out a list from the pocket of his military coat and read it in a calm and forceful voice. First team, Captain Zhang Yi. The first one mentioned was Zhang Yi, and he was also the captain of his own life. This made everyone cast curious glances at Zhang Yi. Deng Shentang looked at Zhang Yi with a playful smile, which was a look of appreciation. The captain of the Celestial Squad, a well-known noble son, has never given up trying to win Zhang Yi into his team. Zhang Yi just coughed lightly to ease the atmosphere. The team members, Liang Yu, Chen Xiaoxiao, Peng Li. Liang Yu was very calm. She was originally Zhang Yi's person. However, when Chen Xiaoxiao and Peng Li heard that they had become members of Zhang Yi's team, they both had dissatisfaction on their faces. Chen Xiaoxiao's city was a little deeper and soon calmed down. But Peng Li stared straight at Zhang Yi. The feeling of doubt and disbelief was beyond words. Everyone is powerful in their respective territories. Why should Zhang Yi control them? Chapter 631 A discordant team. Zhang Yi could sense Peng Li's gaze, but he didn't care. Anyway, instead of letting others manage yourself, it is always good to manage others. At least you can have the power of autonomy. As for the subsequent actions, if they are disobedient, then just throw them away. Anyway, it is enough for Zhang Yi to have Huahua and Liang Yu by his side. Oh, almost forgot. He's actually pretty strong. Damn it. Zhu Zheng began to announce the configuration of the other 2 groups. Everyone listened carefully. Everyone hoped that they could be the captain, which represented the recognition of the Jiangnan regional headquarters. The second group, Captain Zhuo Fiyu, team members Yu Zhenggang, Yuan Hao, and Liu Yuzhen. The third group, Captain Wu Shifeng, team members Mo Zhangning, Li Weihei, Jia Heting. After the list of groups came out, the atmosphere at the scene became a little stiff. As the captain, most of them are somewhat proud of themselves, but at the same time they are worried whether the team members under them will obey their orders. The team members, on the other hand, were considering the strength of their fellow team members and somewhat questioned the captain. They are used to being the boss and in charge of command in their own territory, who would be happy to let others order them. But at this time, Zhang Yi's focus was on another place. Only 12 people were on the announced list, but there were 13 strangers from the outer city at the scene. His gaze landed on the handsome boy Yuan Hao, and then quickly shifted to his girlfriend Xia Lingling next to him. Without Xia Lingling, Zhang Yi frowned. He didn't think the headquarters would make such a low-level mistake. Liang Yu was brought here by himself, and was also judged by the headquarters to be qualified as a combat force. Even if Xia Lingling is not the leader of the power, she should have her name. Unless, like Huahua, she is actually some kind of war pet. Xia Lingling felt several strange gazes around her. She folded her arms in dissatisfaction and snorted coldly. What are you looking at? A husband and wife are one body. Do you have any objections? Yuan Hao panicked. Lingling, don't be angry. Then he stood up, sweating profusely, and bowed and apologized to everyone. This scene made Peng Li couldn't help laughing. Zhu Zeng crossed his hands on the table and said seriously, that's the team allocation. We allocated the team according to your abilities, and the selection of the captain was also carefully considered. I hope you can cooperate well and complete this mission together, he said, looking at his watch. Before I knew it, it was past 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'll be here first today. Tomorrow afternoon is still this time, and we will gather here as well. At that time, I hope you can carefully analyze the information about the eclipse, and then find out the most favorable way to fight. Because in 2 days, we have to go. The eclipse team will not obediently wait for them to encircle and suppress them, and new situations may arise every minute and every second. Moreover, the impact of this event is relatively subtle. Some things are only 4 teals, if they are not on the scale, but they can weigh 1,000 catties on the scale. If the Jiangnan region is not handled well, not only will the status of the Jiangnan region among the 6 regions plummet, but the influence of all regions in the world will also decline. This matter is no longer a simple encirclement and suppression of Ronin. The meeting ended temporarily, and Zhu Zeng got up and left the meeting room. Lan Xincheng said, the information will be transmitted to your hands immediately. Then he pushed his gold-rimmed glasses and followed Zhu Zeng away. Seeing that there were other people around Zhang Yi, Deng Shentang thought that Zhang Yi still had to deal with the internal affairs of his team, so he didn't come over to talk to him. Soon, the people at the headquarters left the venue one after another. Only 13 aliens from the outer city remained here, each with their own thoughts. Zhang Yi was the first to stand up. He put his hands in his pockets and said to Liang Yu indifferently, let's go. Go back and study those materials carefully. Liang Yu nodded and followed Zhang Yi to the outside. When passing by Chen Xiaoxiu and Peng Li, Chen Xiaoxiu raised her handsome eyebrows slightly. She pursed her lips, planning to say something, when Zhang Yi came to look for her. And Peng Li was still vigilant and unconvinced, ready to fight back as soon as Zhang Yi put on airs. But what they didn't expect was that Zhang Yi just walked out of the meeting room without even looking at them. Both Chen Xiaoxiu and Peng Li were dumbfounded, feeling like they had charged up and hit the air. He just left. Chen Xiaoxiu was puzzled. At such an important moment, I saw that I was about to go to the battlefield to fight those powerful and ferocious Neon Ronin. But Zhang Yi showed a look of indifference. Chen Xiaoxiu suddenly felt angry. What did he take this mission for? What do you think of yourself as the captain? Suddenly, she stood up all of a sudden and said to Peng Li, who was also stunned, go, find him. After she finished speaking, she followed Zhang Yi closely, and Peng Li realized that she followed quickly. At this time, Zhang Yi and Liang Yu were walking in the corridor and were about to reach the elevator. Suddenly, a clean female voice came from behind. Zhang Yi, please wait. No need to look back. Zhang Yi knows who it is. But out of politeness, he glanced back lazily. What's up? Zhang Yi's indifferent attitude made Chen Xiaoxiu even more angry in her heart, but she was not an immature girl, and she would not show her dissatisfaction on her face. She walked up to Zhang Yi and forced a smile on her face. We are operating as a team now, and you are the captain. I think at least we should know more about each other. Besides, let's study the data of the eclipse together. It's convenient to discuss with more people, isn't it? Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows. Chen Xiaoxiu's resolute appearance was a bit like Zhao Honglian. It seems that she is also a heroic female high school who has a straightforward personality and refuses to admit defeat. Chen Xiaoxiu opened her arms and said with a smile, let me introduce myself. My name is Chen Xiaoxiu, and the person next to me is Peng Li. We are from the same organization in Bazhou. At the end of the introduction, she looked around cautiously and then said to Zhang Yi, look, it's not very convenient to talk here. Why don't we find a place to talk slowly? How about it, Captain? She slowed down the word captain and spit it out word by word from her lips. Zhang Yi thought, you look more like the captain than me. He knew that Chen Xiaoxiu and Peng Li were a little bit dissatisfied with him being the captain, but so what? This is Zhu Zeng's order. If you have the ability, you can find him. However, although they feel a little competitive, they will not make Zhang Yi feel annoying. thinking that the four of them will work together in the future, as long as they have no malicious intentions. It is not impossible to establish a good relationship. Zhang Yi nodded and raised his thumb. That's good. Let's go to the password bar. I treat you. Chapter 632 Ice Dancer. Zhang Yi generously asked for a treat. Liang Yu couldn't help leaning into his ear and asked in a low voice, "Are we rich?" Blizzard City's money refers to points, and only people in Blizzard City can get them through jobs and tasks. Of course Zhang Yi didn't have one. He had to rely on the allocated supplies to eat here. Zhang Yi pouted. "It's okay, I have friends." Of course he was referring to Evergreen. This buddy is now the captain of the investigation team and has a lot of points in his hand. Coupled with the fact that he owes Zhang Yi a lot of favors, it is naturally no problem to open a box to drink in his name. Chen Xiaoxiao and Peng Li smiled and rejected Zhang Yi's offer. "Let's forget drinking. Why don't we go to your room and chat slowly?" Although they are the leaders of the power, but drinking with a man they met for the first time, the two of them are quite wary. However, their suggestion may sound a bit misleading. Go to your room, talk slowly. Zhang Yi couldn't help but have infinite reverie in his heart. What's the matter? Is this greedy for my body? Peng Li found something wrong with Zhang Yi's eyes and explained angrily, "It's not what you think. It's just that we have no other place to go now. People like them from outside the city are not familiar with the local area, so it is not easy to find a quiet and secluded place to chat." Zhang Yi scratched his head. I'm sorry, let's make it so." So the four of them got into the elevator together and then planned to go to Zhang Yi's room and talk together. After they left, other strangers came out of the conference room one after another. Zhuo Fiyu, the captain of the second team, didn't chat with the team members either. Everyone understands in their hearts that it is more difficult to convince these rebellious people to obey themselves. It's not something that can be moved by just a few words. "Zhuo Fiyu." A dull voice stopped Zhuo Fiyu, who was about to leave. Zhuo Fiyu's eyes flashed. He glanced behind him and saw Yu Zhengyang, a veteran from Zuchun. "Is there a problem?" Zhuo Fiyu asked a little coldly. Yu Zhengyang stood still a few meters behind him and said coldly, "I can't say anything about the team assigned by ZHU Shui. But I want to remind you, don't think that just because you are the captain, you can order us." A coldness flashed in Yu Zhengyang's eyes. "And, if you dare to do something stupid, I won't listen to you." Zhuo Fiyu glanced at him lightly. "It's up to you." HMPH, of course. After Yu Zhengyang finished speaking, he turned and left. Not only them, but another team's condition is not very good. Obviously, no one is convinced by the so-called captain. They are all strong men who have fought their way out in the last days by relying on their own abilities. They have their own rules of conduct, and it is difficult for them to obey others. In fact, ZHU Zheng and the others knew this in their hearts. However, there is an urgent need to eradicate the eclipse, so these powerful lone wolves must be used. It is more important to adapt to the situation on the battlefield, and it depends on how they handle it by themselves. What's more, the big area will also supervise the battle remotely at that time, so they are not afraid of causing trouble. Relatively speaking, the situation of Zhang Yi's team is even the most harmonious. Chen Xiaoxiao and Peng Li came to Zhang Yi's room. Zhang Yi sat in the middle of the most comfortable sofa, and Liang Yu sat on the armrest of the sofa holding her looming. Chen Xiaoxiao and Peng Li pulled up 2 chairs and sat opposite Zhang Yi. Peng Li raised Erlang's legs because the chair was higher than the sofa, so she could look down on Zhang Yi from above. In her eyes, she made no secret of her arrogance, as if she was warning Zhang Yi not to try to command them. Zhang Yi didn't care about it. It doesn't matter if they have these 2 so-called teammates, or they don't. But if they want to act with themselves, they must be obedient. Okay, now there is no one else here, let's have a good chat. Zhang Yi reached out and stroked Tuahua's fur, smiling at them. Chen Xiaoxiao smiled and said, "Since it's a group assigned by the district, we'd better follow the rules. Everyone knows in their hearts that the aliens who eclipse the moon are all very powerful. They are even higher than you and me." Zhang Yi smiled without saying a word. Chen Xiaoxiao continued, "So we have to work together to ensure that we can survive on the battlefield and successfully complete the mission. Then, at least we need to be clear about each other's abilities, so that we can cooperate conveniently at that time. Chen Xiaoxiao spread her arms, so I hope everyone can tell each other about their abilities. Of course, if you agree, I can talk about my abilities first to show my sincerity. How about it? Liang Yu glanced at Zhang Yi, waiting for Zhang Yi to make up his mind. Zhang Yi just smiled lightly and nodded without any hesitation. Okay, I think this suggestion is very good. Even if he said something, he would not fully expose his details. He knew that Chen Xiaoxiao and Peng Li might not be able to confess. Chen Xiaoxiao smiled slightly. Okay then, let me introduce myself first. She put her hands on her chest. My ability is called Ice Dancer, which strengthens the alien. Because I have studied Brazilian war dance for 10 years, I'm good at fighting with kicking skills. As she spoke, she pointed to Peng Li next to her. Peng Li's ability is Priest, a person who releases abilities. It should be clear from the name that her ability is biased towards auxiliary enhancement, which can help people greatly improve their basic physical fitness and heal injuries. If she was not fatally injured, she would be able to heal it quickly. Zhang Yi glanced at Peng Li upon hearing this. The two turned out to be a team. A powerful close combat master of the strengthening system, combined with a nanny, is indeed a perfect match. Peng Li's ability is somewhat like a weakened version of Crossing Shine Legion and Zhao Ke's Doctor. However, if one person possesses these two abilities at the same time and can bless one person, it can exert a powerful effect of 1 + 1, 3. Zhang Yi knew in his heart that they were hiding something. The most obvious one is Chen Xiaoxiao's ability, Ice Dancer. These 3 words were not reflected in her introduction of abilities. Zhang Yi smiled slightly. Then it's our turn. I, Zhang Yi, a person with special ability and space ability. The ability code is different space. I can open the different space for storage and defense work, and use the gate of the dimension to travel through space. After Zhang Yi finished talking about his abilities, Chen Xiaoxiao and Peng Li's expressions became serious. Space System Ability. Chapter 633 Power. The ability of the space system is extremely rare, because its powerful comprehensive ability has always been in existence, that people yearn for in the legend. After all, so far, Zhang Yi has seen other space-type aliens other than him, only the Yang Wuchang in Blizzard City who has never shown his face, and the female alien who was able to pass through the wall at the Zishan base, that he killed first. Chen Xiaoxiao murmured, no wonder ZHU Shui asked you to be the captain. A Delta-level alien with space ability, no wonder. At the beginning, the two who had some opinions on Zhang Yi as the team leader gradually understood. Zhang Yi said with a smile, my ability seems to be quite popular. Isn't that natural? Chen Xiaoxiao shrugged and said with a smile, you don't understand how useful this ability is nowadays. Peng Li curled her lips and said sourly, that's right, people, they always don't realize how beautiful the things they have are. In the current world of ice and snow, even if the ability of the space system is only used for assisting, its convenience will make all the aliens of other systems covetous. For example, Zhang Yi can use a different space to transport a large amount of heavy weapons and equipment. If the two armies are fighting against each other, and one side has such a foreigner, it will show a crushing trend at the level of weapons and equipment. And when traveling far away, other aliens need to carry a lot of supplies. Heating, food, medicine, sanitation, and so on and so forth. Even aliens are very vulnerable in the last days of the world. It is possible to die of infection after the battle due to insufficient supplies. And with a space system alien by his side, these would not be worries at all. Zhang Yi himself is used to it, and he doesn't think there is anything wrong with it, but others are very jealous. Chen Xiaoxiao looked at Zhang Yi and said suspiciously, Zhang Yi, what is your fighting style? Even if you can't show us all, you still have too much left. Zhang Yi smiled lightly, my offensive method is very simple. It's a gun. Gun. Chen Xiaoxiao and Peng Li looked suspicious. For high-level aliens, ordinary firearms have no effect at all. Zhang Yi said, my space system ability can help me shoot, increase the range and attack power. Even it can cause a certain amount of damage to aliens. Unless it's the super defensive and orc type aliens, I can cause a certain amount of damage to other aliens. Not to mention that now, Zhang Yi holds a large number of origin bullets and holy silver bullets in his hands. Chen Xiaoxiao nodded, and then a happy smile appeared on her face. Then we are so lucky. We can be on your team. Peng Li next to her blinked curiously. Hey? Why? Chen Xiaoxiao calmly explained. With space aliens in the team, logistics supplies will not be any problem. In other words, we can fight outside for a long time. And from Zhang Yi's introduction, it is not difficult to see that he is a different person of the defensive counter-attack type. He is better at defense than offense. In this way, we will be safer by his side. Peng Li nodded, and the look in Zhang Yi's eyes softened a lot. So this is our. During Zhang Yi's contact with the two of them, he gradually understood their personalities. At first glance, Chen Xiaoxiao is used to being a team leader, and likes to take the initiative. But fortunately, she is very smart and her logic is relatively clear. Dealing with smart people has always been what Zhang Yi likes to do. Zhang Yi looked at Liang Yu and introduced. This is Liang Yu. She is a power enhancing type, a master of martial arts. There seems to be nothing more worth introducing. Huh. Zhang Yi looked at Liang Yu with a smile and said. Liang Yu's ability is actually relatively simple. It is the most common ability of the enhancement system. But her own fighting power is really too strong. It can even be said that, even if she doesn't have supernatural powers, she can fight LV2 beta level aliens with her own kung fu. Sometimes, Zhang Yi also thinks that with such a talent, once she gains the advantage of being close, it is possible to kill by leapfrogging. Zhang Yi silently swallowed a mouthful of saliva. He should treat Liang Yu better in the future. But from the past until now, he has been sparing no effort to win Liang Yu over. Peng Li and Chen Xiaoxiao didn't react too much, they just nodded to Liang Yu. In their eyes, there is nothing too strange about the aliens of the reinforcement system. And they don't quite understand what a martial arts master is. So, what about it? Chen Xiaoxiao suddenly pointed to Hua on Zhang Yi's knee. There was a wise light in her eyes, and she said with a smile, don't tell me, this is just a pet. No pet can withstand the ultra low temperature of -degrees. And you are not like that a man who would not forget to bring his pet out to play at such a critical moment. Zhang Yi smiled faintly. Your insight is good, indeed. My Huahua is no ordinary cat. Peng Li asked, could it be the cat in Wang Wen's poem? Seeing everyone's strange gazes, she curled her lips. Can't you just take it easy? Chen Xiaoxiao quickly explained to Zhang Yi and Liang Yu. Her personality has always been like this. Don't mind it. It's okay. Zhang Yi caressed Huahua. It is a mutant creature. If it is divided according to the level of human abilities, it is also a delta level. Huahua can evolve by devouring aliens, which obviously meets the standard of delta class. That's really good. Chen Xiaoxiao stared at Huahua with excited eyes. In this way, our team is equivalent to having 5 delta level combat powers. And there is also a rare space system. Now, our probability of obtaining mission points will be higher than other teams. Peng Li also smiled and said, then Linhai City, do we have a chance to take it too? Chen Xiaoxiao nodded. That's right, that's it. Zhang Yi just smiled without saying a word. Chen Xiaoxiao couldn't wait, and said to Zhang Yi, then, let's read those materials together a few more times. Let's discuss and discuss together. Brainstorming is always better than reading alone. Okay, let's watch together then. Zhang Yi smiled faintly and reached out to get a water cup to drink. But when he stretched out his hand to touch the body of the cup, he realized that the water was already cold. Liang Yu took the cup from his hand knowingly, went to the water heater to get a cup of hot water and came back. Zhang Yi looked at Chen Xiaoxiao and Peng Li with a smile and spoke slowly. However, shouldn't we talk about teamwork first? He spread his hands. I hope you two can understand. Since we have become members of a group, you must obey my orders when we act. Since the meeting, Chen Xiaoxiao has been actively trying to seize the initiative. And Zhang Yi didn't object, just smiled and followed her rhythm. It's not that he's stupid, it's just that he doesn't care. This so-called team is not that important to him. Because until now, ZHU Zheng and the others did not know his true strength. Perhaps in the next action, Zhang Yi may not be able to erase several members of Eclipse Moon. But when he wanted to leave, no one could hurt his life. However, if Chen Xiaoxiao and Peng Li wanted to team up with him, they had to listen to him. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 634 Research Materials. As soon as Zhang Yi's words came out, Chen Xiaoxiao's eyes suddenly became sharp. Peng Li also stared at Zhang Yi with a serious expression. In the end, the right to speak in the team is still a topic that cannot be avoided. Chen Xiaoxiao wanted to always control the rhythm, and naturally became the talker in the team, making Zhang Yi the nominal captain. But obviously Zhang Yi would not listen to her so easily. Chen Xiaoxiao said, "Your ability is indeed very rare and powerful. If you are the captain, we respect your opinion. However, if you make inappropriate decisions during the mission, we also have the right to correct you." There seems to be no problem with these words. We listen to what you say, but if what you say is wrong, we have to correct you and let you do what we want. But after careful consideration, they still had the initiative. To put it bluntly, they did not intend to accept the leadership of Zhang Yi, the captain. Zhang Yi still had that calm smile on his face. In this case, there is no need for us to act together. He spread his hands together. At that time, you two can move freely. There is no need to be with us. After all, according to the configuration of the team, I, Liang Yu and Huahua are only one less than the regular configuration of 4. He looked at Liang Yu who was beside him, and stroked the sleeping Huahua on his lap. Besides, we are in a team, and we cooperate with each other tacitly. They will also follow my orders. So it doesn't matter if there are more of you two or less of you two. Differences do not conspire with each other. You also think so, right? A gleam of astonishment flashed in Chen Xiaoxiao's eyes. Peng Li looked at Zhang Yi in surprise and shouted, "Are you serious? The difficulty of this mission is very high. The 10 teams that acted before have all been wiped out. We can only increase our chances of survival if we stick together. Originally, the 5 of us, beasts, should have the best chance to complete the task. If you split it up like this, it's not good for any of us." Zhang Yi leaned on the sofa slowly, crossed his legs and said, "But you don't recognize me as the captain. Everyone is alienated, and we will only get involved with each other when we are together. What's the point?" Chen Xiaoxiao said calmly, "Our contact time is too short. It is inconvenient to get in touch with each other. But if there are many people, the chance of survival can always be guaranteed to increase." The corners of Zhang Yi's mouth became more and more curved. Liang Yu also couldn't help laughing. She looked at Chen Xiaoxiao and Liang Yu with sympathy, and thought, "Do you know who you are talking to? Today's Zhang Yi, looking at the entire Jiangnan region, is a top-notch master. Especially his life-saving unique skill. Hey, anyone who sees him will have to scold her. The top Delta level alien whose defense power is 10 times the attack power. Even the legendary level alien of the Epsilon level will be overwhelmed when he sees it. If you don't believe me, you can ask Yuan Kang guy. You talk about survival chances in front of him?" Zhang Yi didn't want them to follow him, as it would affect his actions. But he couldn't refuse to be grouped, as that would arouse suspicion from others. So Zhang Yi said, "That's good, we can act together. But if there is a disagreement, you can act on your own. Don't worry about us." Chen Xiaoxiao couldn't bear it anymore. As a shrewd team leader, she thought Zhang Yi's approach was too childish. "Zhang Yi, this is not a joke. This is a life and death crisis. You can't put everyone in a dangerous environment just because you are angry with us." Zhang Yi sighed lightly. He sat up straight, resting his chin on his hands. "I can only tell you that my life-saving ability will allow me and my people to absolutely survive this operation. So do you think I have an obligation to protect those who don't obey my orders?" What Zhang Yi said was straightforward enough. If they don't understand anymore, Zhang Yi doesn't intend to waste his words with them. "You said you can absolutely guarantee that you and them will survive?" Chen Xiaoxiao supported her chin with one hand and began to fall into deep thought. Not long after, she took a deep breath. "I understand. So it is like this?" Peng Li asked quietly, "What do you understand?" Chen Xiaoxiao looked at Zhang Yi and said with emotion, "This is the benefit of space type abilities. Didn't he mention it before? He can travel through space. That is to say, when something goes wrong, just run away. With the rarity of the space system, as long as he wants to escape, basically no one can kill him. Maybe the opponent has that kind of alien, but with the Celestial Squad attracting frontal firepower, it is impossible for the Eclipse to hunt him down with all its strength. In this way, isn't he invincible?" Peng Li glanced at Zhang Yi strangely and whispered, "What a dog." "Zhang Yi, is it possible that I can hear you? I did it on purpose." Peng Li smiled at him proudly. "Zhang Yi, it's just a big speechless incident." After careful consideration, Chen Xiaoxiao made a decision. "Okay, in the next mission, we will act according to your orders. But if your orders are too outrageous, we will part ways with you. Everyone will go their own way. How?" Zhang Yi nodded. "Okay, deal." If it wasn't for the purpose of deceiving others, he even went directly to Zhu Zheng and asked to take Liang Yu and Huahua with him. Chen Xiaoxiao and Peng Li didn't look too annoying, so let's take them first. If he caused trouble later, Zhang Yi would abandon them mercilessly and leave alone. Then, let's start researching the information about the eclipse. Chen Xiaoxiao said. "You say research is research." Zhang Yi smiled. Chen Xiaoxiao's tone suddenly joked. Zhang Yi waved his hand. "Just kidding." "Well, let's start researching then." Chen Xiaoxiao always likes to take the initiative. Zhang Yi must let her understand who should listen to now. Chen Xiaoxiao also saw Zhang Yi's purpose. But now she didn't want to make trouble in the team, so she injured it. The four of them got together, opened the information sent to them by Lan Xincheng, and began to study it carefully. A few hours later, the four of them went through the video data carefully. Since they already had a viewing experience, this time, they can quickly jump to the unimportant parts to observe the important points. Among the four, Peng Li was in charge of taking the minutes of the meeting and recording the key points. After reading it, Zhang Yi sat on the sofa and said with a smile, "Now that we have finished watching, it's time for us to talk about our own views. As the captain, let me talk first. No matter whether they have evil intentions or not, everyone has the same goal in fighting against the eclipse moon, so Zhang Yi will not have too many reservations in this regard." Chapter 635, 3-line battle. The current video data is limited, and we have not even obtained the complete personnel capability information of the other party. But there is one most critical thing right now. They have an extremely large intelligence acquisition capability. Since they were able to figure out the first batch of 10 alien teams to fight, we have to be prepared, and we will encounter the same situation. When he said this, Zhang Yi felt a little funny in his heart. If it is an Eclipse's team, there is really a stranger of this strength. Then when he appears on the battlefield, I'm afraid that no one is willing to face him. But this is just speculation. We don't know how the other party obtained our information, let alone how detailed the information they obtained. So it's never wrong to be fully prepared. Zhang Yi took a deep breath and looked at Chen Xiaoxiao and Peng Li with a smile. Like the first campaign, they always put their inhumans against their easiest opponents. So it is possible that we will also encounter existences that we are particularly difficult to deal with. This should also be the reason why the district asked us to divide into 3 teams and let different people with different abilities form a team. Only in this way can we make up for the shortcomings in our capabilities. Chen Xiaoxiao listened carefully and nodded from time to time. She agreed with Zhang Yi's opinion. Zhang Yi picked up the water glass and took a sip, then continued. In addition, some of these people's fighting power is obviously much higher than that of others. He turned on the satellite phone and projected the images of the 13 profiles of the Eclipse group in midair. Zhang Yi stretched out his finger to the former sumo wrestler Dagon Yanjin. This guy's at least as strong as the deputy captain of the investigation team. In the video data, Dagon Yanjin was very real, defeating 2 alien teams head on with his own strength. Even Zhang Yi couldn't help but look sideways after seeing that kind of powerful fighting power. According to his estimation, this person's strength is even comparable to that of Bailey Changqing. Peng Li took a notebook and took notes quickly. Although she occasionally looks like a playful girl, at this time, she is more serious in doing things. Zhang Yi's hand pointed to Nobunaga Tsukamoto, the samurai with long bun among the 13 people. Nobunaga Tsukamoto, a master of Neon Kendo, even has the title of contemporary sword master. Of course, although Neon people often like to describe someone exaggeratedly, there are so many rice fairy and instant noodle fairy. I wish I could have a fairy in the toilet. But this guy's strength should be very valuable. We have to pay attention to it. When Nobunaga Tsukamoto was mentioned, Liang Yu raised his eyebrows, and there was a proud fighting spirit in his cold eyes. As Huaji Yuo's martial arts master, she has her own pride. Martial arts journey. Of course she will not accept a Neon Ronin. Therefore, after hearing Zhang Yi's emphasis on Tsukamoto Nobunaga, her fighting spirit also burned. If possible, I want to fight against him. Chen Xiaoxiao and Peng Li looked at Liang Yu curiously. There was some suspicion in the eyes of the two of them. Because in their understanding, Liang Yu is just Zhang Yi's subordinate. How dare she say such a thing? You know, that Nobunaga Tsukamoto wiped out an alien organization one by one, and captured Li Shai and Lan alive. On the battlefield, capturing alive is always more difficult than killing. Liang Yu felt the suspicion of the two, but she didn't bother to explain anything. She was not good at words, and for a martial artist, the best way to prove her strength was fight. Zhang Yi continued to chat. Besides, there are 3 other people whose strength we don't understand. He pointed to Phoenix Inajin, Mayumi Takuchi and Satoru 40 Manaba in the picture. These people have to be careful, and not be careless. Especially as the group leader, Feng Huang Yuanren, who admires the neon of Zyakushin. If he is not strong enough, it is impossible for this group of fierce Ronin to be regarded as the group leader. Zhang Yi's eyes could not help but become serious. If even the strength of his subordinates is that strong, what level is his strength? The first battle did not test his strength. Then, Zhang Yi and others will have to face the unknown in the second battle. That Zhang Yi and others will participate in afraid? That's not the case. Zhang Yi is a stranger with the best life-saving means. It's just that, if you don't know the opponent's strength, it will be difficult to erase it, and various changes may occur at that time. Chen Xiaoxiao saw Zhang Yi's worry, but she said calmly, when encountering an enemy of this level, all we can do is do our part. Don't forget, the headquarters is the leader of this operation, and the main force is the Celestial Squad, not us. Then, she stared at Zhang Yi with burning eyes. I can basically understand what the headquarters battle plan is. As soon as these words came out, both Zhang Yi and Liang Yu couldn't help but look at her a few more times. The corners of Peng Li's mouth rose slightly, feeling a little smug in her heart. Although she and Chen Xiaoxiao only met after the end of the world, they became best friends because of their similar personalities. The abilities of the two complement each other, just like the relationship between the two of them, supporting each other, step by step to the apex of Bacheng's power. Chen Xiaoxiao's mind is something she is also proud of. Oh, let's hear it. Zhang Yi smiled and spread his hands, motioning for Chen Xiaoxiao to continue. Chen Xiaoxiao said, your analysis is correct. The eclipse moon did not show its strength at all in the first battle. And it is precisely because of this that we have to form 2 echelons to act. Considering that the opponent has extremely powerful intelligence gathering capabilities, then they will use the best formation when fighting us. The phenomenon of ability restraint between different people is very serious, as obvious as water can put out a fire. If you lose the opportunity in this regard, you will be easily broken through. Chen Xiaoxiao continued, however, we have the advantage of playing at home. That is the number of people. As she spoke, she reached out and took 4 water glasses from the tray on the tea table. First put the 2 water glasses in front. Our 3 teams are the first line of battle. The meaning of our existence is to force the eclipse to take action and expose their strength first. Even though they can choose a suitable response plan to attack us according to our formation. However, we still have a second layer of protection. Chen Xiaoxiao put the 2 cups behind again. That's the God Squad. Just look for the ability attributes, which are not the same as ours, and the members of the Celestial Squad who can even complement each other follow us. Then you can perfectly resolve the opponent's tactics. Chen Xiaoxiao rubbed her chin and thought for a few seconds, then said with a smile, To put it simply, it's like playing rock paper scissors. If you put it that way, it's easy to understand, right? And if we do this, even if the other party understands our strategy, there is no good way to break through. Because I don't think they are superior to us in terms of hard power. Chapter 636 Jiangning City Falls. Chen Xiaoxio's opinion made Zhang Yi nod repeatedly. He very much agreed with Chen Xiaoxio's opinion. Yes, I think so too. Although these aliens from Neon are all at the Delta level, but they are not much different from people like Zhang Yi and Chen Xiaoxio. Most of them are folk strangers who have not received professional combat training. Perhaps there is a gap in strength between them and the aliens in the first battle. However, the dozen or so people who were summoned this time were all top-notch in the outer city of the Jiangnan region. Zhang Yi didn't think he would be weaker than them. It can even be said that, apart from being inferior to members of the investigation team in terms of group combat and discipline, at the individual level, their strength will not be weaker than that of ordinary investigation team members. Even a certain person is not weaker than the investigation team leader. Chen Xiaoxio was very happy that Zhang Yi agreed with her. That's why, as long as we fight in this way and prevent the opponent from fighting with information differences, our chances of winning are very high. Zhang Yi leaned on the sofa, glanced at Liang Yu beside him, and then said lightly, if this is the case, then this task will be easy. After all, what I'm best at is being a bait, to delay other people's time. As long as he doesn't try to die, no one can kill him within the known range. At this moment, Peng Li, who had been lowering her head to take notes, suddenly raised her head and looked at Zhang Yi with a look of surprise and slight disgust. However, our purpose is not just to be a bait for others. Don't forget, as long as we can make contributions in this mission, we have a chance to win the entire Linhai city. Zhang Yi frowned. So. Peng Li was full of surprise. Linhai city is very rich in resources. As long as we can win it, at least divide it into a part of the area, it will greatly enhance our power. Chen Xiaoxio said calmly, although the Jiangnan regional headquarters has established a federation to strictly prohibit the forces in each region from fighting. But you have to understand that this kind of thing cannot be prohibited at all. The Jiangnan region is indeed powerful, and no one dares to provoke it. But their strength cannot completely govern the entire region. So the big and small forces in the Jiangnan region will definitely have normalized wars in the future. Only by making yourself stronger can you not be passive. Zhang Yi nodded. It really makes sense. But I'm not interested. Peng Li sneered. You are also the leader of Xianhai City after all. With this kind of mentality, be careful that your hometown will be stolen in the future. You can't be too comfortable as a human being. Zhang Yi said with a smile. But I don't think there is anything wrong with an Yi. Chen Xiaoxio frowned. She and Peng Li looked at each other, feeling that things were getting a little tricky. Their purpose is to make contributions this time, in order to obtain mission rewards from the Jiangnan region, including the territory of Linhai City. But now, two members of their team do not support their approach. How do they stack up against the other two teams after that? Obviously, it will fall into a disadvantage in terms of strength. Chen Xiaoxio took a deep breath. Zhang Yi, you should think about this matter carefully. Linhai City is next to Xianhai City. If you can win the territory and resources there, it will be the most suitable for you. Zhang Yi didn't want to continue entangled in this topic. He waved his hand. Have you forgotten what we said at the beginning? In this team, I'm the captain, and you all have to listen to me. If there is a disagreement at that time, you can leave at any time, and I will not stop it. Chen Xiaoxio's tone froze for a moment. Indeed, this was their agreement. No matter how much she had in mind, there was nothing Zhang Yi could do if she didn't agree. After all, on the surface, Zhang Yi is their captain. You're a strange person. Chen Xiaoxio said helplessly. If it were any other team, those aliens would have readily agreed. A meaningful smile appeared on the corner of Zhang Yi's mouth. He didn't say much about this matter, just knocked on the table. Next, let's continue. They still have a lot to dig into. For example, according to the supernatural means of each alien in the Eclipse group, come up with a strategy to deal with it. While Zhang Yi and others were busy studying the information of the Eclipse group, a piece of news reached ZHU Zheng from the intelligence department of the Combat Command Center. When Zhu Zeng saw the news, he couldn't help frowning deeply, because it clearly stated that the Xinjiang satellite system detected that the Eclipse team began to leave Linhai City and headed for Jiangning City in the northwest direction. I can't wait any longer. These guys really want to march towards the Central Plains. Damn madman. Zhu Zeng clenched his fists with a solemn expression. The madness of the Eclipse group was beyond his expectation. You don't really think that, if you win an outpost, you can really treat the Jiangnan region as nothing? A sharp light like a blade flashed in Zhu Zeng's eyes, and a strong killing intent pervaded the air. Jiangning City, located in the northwest of Linhai City and Qianhai City, is a prosperous second-tier city. The Eclipse team rode the snatched car, wandering forward from the border line, all the way to the central area of Jiangning City. Jiangning Square, one of the most prosperous areas in Jiangning City, is also a well-known commercial district. In the past, this place was once occupied by the largest alien group in Jiangning City. But now, the streets where members of the Eclipse Moon walk are littered with hundreds of corpses along the way. The dark red blood dyed the entire street red, and before it could flow, it quickly condensed into blood ice. Phoenix Court put his hands in the pockets of his grey suit vest, whistling leisurely as he walked forward. We have to find a place with abundant supplies first. Rest here for a while, replenish supplies, and then continue to the inland. The next stop seems to be the city called Lingdu. The Phoenix Court looked at the instrument in his hand. The screen displayed a complete map, and even every path was clear. Of course, after the blizzard of the last days, most of the paths have lost their meaning. This is a map before the end of the world, and it can only be used as a reference now. Behind him on the right, Seiichiro Jinguji, with his hair combed back and gold-rimmed glasses, looked at him with a stinky face. Things are not going to go as smoothly as we expected. In the previous battle, it was obvious that it was not the alien troops from the Jiangnan regional headquarters, but non-governmental organizations. After we wiped them all out, we also sent a message, but we didn't get a response from the Jiangnan region. He exhaled a mouthful of white smoke, and there was some irritability in his eyes. This shows that those guys still have to fight us to the end. Chapter 637. Let me say a sentence. Listening to Jinguji's complaint, the Phoenix Court showed a brisk smile on the corner of its mouth. Seiichiro Jinguji, the former stock trader, is a complete pessimist. From the first day he knew him, Jinguji always spread negative news in the ears of Phoenix Academy. However, thanks to him, the Eclipse Moon organization could develop to where it is today. And in the Kanto area, he escaped from the siege of the Izumo group again and again. The pessimist Jinguji Seiichiro is also a firm representative of the landing party. After the apocalypse came, he firmly believed that the Neon Islands would be submerged in the Great Flood after the apocalypse. If it wasn't for that, he, who is cautious by nature, would never have agreed to Phoenix Courtyard's crazy landing plan. The Phoenix Institute smiled and said, Jingu Temple, don't always be so pessimistic. Now all developments are under our control. He spread his arms and turned his back on everyone. One more crusade at most. The Jiangnan region will fully understand how strong we are. They will obediently give up their conquest. I believe that many smart people among them will understand this truth. After all, we are not the only enemy for them now. As the Phoenix Academy said, it narrowed its eyes. Just like when we were in Kanto. As a Ronin organization, the Eclipse had a conflict with the most powerful local organization, Izumo, when it crossed the Kanto. However, those who have mastered the high-level power of Neon are mostly figures from former official institutions. They always consider their own interests first before doing things. To eliminate the Eclipse Moon, the price to be paid is too heavy, and it is possible that their entire organization will be greatly weakened. In that case, it will give other forces a chance to replace them. Because of this, Izumo will let the Eclipse go. Jinguji looked disgusted. Cut, but this is not a Neon sign. Are the heads of those people in the Jiangnan region the same as those in Izumo? How do you know? The Phoenix Academy raised an eyebrow and said playfully, aren't all the tall guys like them in the world the same? Everyone looked at the two bickering with smiles on their faces, obviously already used to this kind of daily life. They stepped on the corpses of the Jiangning City organization and walked into this once bustling street. Jingangxi pushed his glasses. Now, in order to prevent the Jiangnan area from being attacked, it is necessary to conduct a thorough cleansing of this area. He raised his head, and a venomous snake-like gleam flashed in his eyes. Don't leave a single person alive within the 5-kilometer area around Jiangning Square. The day passed quickly. Everyone returned to the meeting room of the combat center. After a little preparation, they were going to the battlefield to fight against the eclipse. Zhang Yi and others came to the meeting room, and Chen Xiaoxiu and Peng Li were also sitting not far from them. Zhang Yi's eyes flicked over the other strangers from the outer city, and it could be seen that they also had some discussions yesterday. It's just that the relationship between people is very delicate. It is impossible for a team formed temporarily to have a tacit understanding, so it is only good to not lose the chain when the time comes. After all, they were not the main force in this battle. After a while, Zhu Zheng, Deng Shentang and others also came here. It's just that today, Zhu Zheng's face was much more serious than yesterday, which made Zhang Yi and the others feel bad. Sure enough, when Zhu Zheng came to the office, he didn't ask everyone about their preparations. Instead, he said to everyone very seriously, "Everyone, I have some very bad news, and I want to inform you here. Just this morning, the eclipse left Linhai City and arrived in Jiangning City next door." As soon as these words came out, a person stood up while slapping the table. What? Zhang Yi recognized that it was Wu Shifeng, the leader of the alien organization in Jiangning City. How is Jiangning City now? Wu Shifeng is very worried. His family and friends are all in Jiangning City, and according to the previous examples in Linhai City, once the eclipse reaches a certain place, the power in that place will be slaughtered. Zhu Zheng said to Wu Shifeng, don't get excited. We have already notified the people in Jiangning City to hide. Don't conflict with the eclipse. At present, they have occupied Jiangning Square, and the organizations in that area have been wiped out as expected. Wu Shifeng took a deep breath and calmed down a bit. But it is also true, if his forces are attacked, they will definitely contact him. But even so, he couldn't rest assured. Because as long as those vicious gangsters stay in Jiangning City for one day, his power will be in danger for one day. Wu Shifeng stared at Zhu Zheng and said seriously, "Sure Zhu, I want to go back first. Settle the internal affairs of my power." Zhu Zheng didn't speak. The secretary beside him, Lan Xincheng, came over and said with a cold face, "Wu Shifeng, what time do you think it is now? Can you let your temper do it? The most important thing for you now is to cooperate with the headquarters to complete the encirclement and suppression of the eclipse." Wu Shifeng looked confused. "But, I'm worried about them." "It's useless to worry." Lan Xincheng scolded. "Do you think that the eclipse of the moon can be wiped out with your own strength?" Wu Shifeng was speechless, and it was useless for him to go alone. Zhu Zheng's gentle voice came from the side. "Okay, Xincheng, he is also worried about his family and friends. It's understandable." Wu Shifeng's heart warmed, and he looked at Zhu Zheng. "Sure Zhu." With his hands behind his back, Zhu Zheng said with a serious face, "I can't eat hot tofu in a hurry. Those people have just arrived in Jiangning City, and there are not many of them. It is impossible to destroy the major organizations in Jiangning City in a short time. We will hold a combat meeting today to determine the action plan. We will act tomorrow morning. As for the large and small forces in Jiangning City, we have notified them in place. Let them hide as soon as possible and don't conflict with the eclipse. Safety issues, you can rest assured." Wu Shifeng felt at ease, nodded and sat down. Zhu Zheng looked at everyone. These guys have a very clear goal, which is to head towards the Central Plains. So we must hurry up and kill them in the coastal area as soon as possible. We must not let these hateful Ronin take a step forward. Then now, let's start the last battle meeting. Please let the three teams, represented by the captain, share the results of your discussions. Zhu Zheng looked at Zhang Yi. "Zhang Yi, let's start with you first." Everyone's eyes shifted to Zhang Yi's side. Zhang Yi coughed and stood up unhurriedly. "Since you want me to say something, then I will say a few words." Chapter 638 Final Mobilization. Zhang Yi succinctly told everyone the results of the four people's discussion yesterday. It's about the success or failure of the operation, so he has almost nothing to hide, except for his own ability. The most important thing, I think, is to thoroughly understand the abilities of all members of the Eclipse team. Especially find a way to crack their information acquisition channels. That's all I have to say, over. After Zhang Yi finished speaking, he sat down. After he finished speaking, many people at the scene bowed their heads in thought, thinking about what Zhang Yi said. Even Deng Shentang rested his chin in one hand, pretending to be in deep thought. Zhu Zeng nodded approvingly towards Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi's analysis is very correct. The most important thing in our war with the Eclipse is intelligence. Regarding this point, we still don't know the source of the opponent's intelligence, so we are at a slight disadvantage. Zhu Zeng's voice suddenly became high-pitched. However, in other respects, we are at an absolute advantage. Whether it is the strength and quantity of aliens, or the logistical assistance for local operations. He crossed his arms and said with a confident smile, the most important thing is the armed assistance from our region. Everyone couldn't help looking at Zhu Zeng. Are you planning to use thermal weapons for targeted strikes? Yu Zhengyang, a stranger from Zuchuan City, asked with fiery eyes. Missiles are one of the most important strategic weapons today. Its power can crush almost all aliens. However, due to the end of the world, its production line is almost cut off, and it can only rely on stock to consume. Therefore, units at the regional level cannot be easily used. Zhang Yi and others have long wondered why the region does not use missiles to strike the Eclipse with precise positioning. Zhu Zeng seemed to understand the doubts in everyone's mind. He explained, the Eclipse has a satellite jamming device in its hands. Although our nebula system can roughly determine their area, it cannot accurately determine their location. Lan Xincheng reminded, they can affect satellite reconnaissance within a radius of 5 kilometers. Zhu Zeng nodded, that's right, 5 kilometers. It is indeed very difficult to cover a radius of 5 kilometers with ammunition. But don't worry, this time we have prepared something else, which is guaranteed to bring them a huge surprise. Everyone was a little happy in their hearts. It seemed that it must be the secret weapon of the Jiangnan region. After all, it's a region-level organization, so it's impossible not to have some bottom-of-the-box stuff. Afterwards, Zhuo Fiyu, the captain of the second team, also stood up and published the results of their team's research. Zhuo Fiyu took out the satellite phone from his pocket, opened the text file on it, and began to read according to the script. Combined with the defeat of the first battle, we have concluded an important experience. That is, we cannot divide our troops into battle. Even if they are divided into 3 teams, they must ensure that the distance between them does not exceed 2 kilometers. And it needs to be stipulated that when a certain team encounters an eclipse, the other 2 teams must support it as soon as possible. We don't need to let each other lead us by the nose. Since what they are good at is intelligence, it is to target the abilities of each of our groups of aliens and send out aliens who can restrain us. Then, we can also change opponents in time according to the situation on the battlefield. These words made Zhang Yi's eyes brighten up. He couldn't help but look at Zhuo Fiyu a few more times. This man looked only in his 30s, very young, with somewhat greasy hair, which was because he hadn't bathed for a long time. Although his face was a little ordinary, he was a little stiff when he followed the script. However, being able to point out the key points of the failure of the first battle straight to the nail and give a solution to it shows that his mind is not simple. Exchanging opponents? This method is wonderful. Zhang Yi couldn't help muttering in a low voice. In the first battle, an important reason why the 10 alien teams were wiped out so quickly was that the captain's ability was restrained. Because in the battle of the Delta level aliens, the influence of the inferior aliens is already very small. And the 13 people who eclipse the moon, all of them are vicious people who have crossed the Kanto region, and they are also outstanding at the Delta level. So the first battle can basically be seen as a battle between Eclipse and 10 Delta level aliens from the outer city. Zhang Yi had also imagined that, if they had exchanged opponents, and prevented them from playing too comfortably, then even if the conquest troops could not win the eclipse, they would not be able to lose so badly. Zhang Yi felt a little emotional in his heart. If the eclipse moon really has that kind of unsolvable intelligence gathering ability, how far can his ability be detected? Will he know his true strength? If so, what kind of people will be sent to deal with him? He doesn't know. Everything is unknown. Zhang Yi felt that it was better for him to be more cautious. After all, I'm in the clear and the enemy is in the dark. If one accidentally overturns the car, it will be terrible. So Zhang Yi decided to continue to fight. The most important thing is to save his life first. What Zhang Yi and Zhuo Fiyu said made everyone realize something. In Zhu Zheng's mind, he even began to consider including this item in the action plan. He nodded at Zhuo Fiyu. Your proposal is very good. I will consider it. Zhuo Fiyu nodded, then sat down slowly. Xia Lingling propped her chin with one hand and looked at Zhuo Fiyu with amusement. Hey, Captain, you're right. Zhuo Fiyu just smiled at her, but didn't respond. Xia Lingling's boyfriend Yuan Hao was a little anxious. He quietly tugged on Xia Lingling's sleeve. Lingling, I also came up with a lot of ideas. You should praise me too. Xia Lingling turned her head and looked at Yuan Hao, who was like a little milk dog, eagerly looking at her, with a wicked smile on her lips. She squeezed Yuan Hao's chin. You idiot. No matter how good other men are, they can't compare with you in my eyes. I love you the most. As she said that, she kissed him, as if no one else was there. There was a sticky chirping sound in the meeting room. The two of them were not far away from Zhang Yi and the others, and a blush suddenly appeared on Liang Yu's face. She turned her head away quickly, but couldn't help but look back secretly. The others looked indifferent, as if they didn't care about these two people. After all, after the end of the world, there are more and more strange things in this world, and they are more daring to indulge themselves. Fortunately, Zhu Zheng was also used to seeing strange things among strangers, so he didn't express anything about Xia Lingling and Yuan Hao's behavior. He just looked at Wu Shifeng, the captain of the third team. Wu Shifeng, it's your turn next. Let's talk about the results of your team's discussion. Chapter 639 is scheduled for early morning. What Wu Shifeng proposed is a more cautious course of action. He believes that the members of the Eclipse team are all very strong in personal strength. If they fight against them in a duel, even if they can win, it will be a miserable victory. Therefore, the best way is to use superior forces to consume their vital strength first. Therefore, Wu Shifeng's suggestion is, send soldiers to blockade Jiangning Square. Everyone is equipped with origin bombs. Then bomb them with thermal weapons to force them out. In this way, they will either have to withstand the bombardment of thermal weapons, or they will come out and face the attack of tens of thousands of soldiers using origin bombs. I believe that even the most powerful alien can't bear such a battle. After listening to Wu Shifeng's words, the scene fell into silence. The people at the headquarters looked at him strangely. Even Zhang Yi couldn't help shaking his head. Although this idea is very good, it is a pity. Lan Xincheng has already expressed the thoughts in everyone's mind. That's impossible. He pushed his glasses and looked at Wu Shifeng. Do you think that the manufacture of the origin bomb is so easy? Even in the headquarters of the Jiangnan region, there are only a few special forces that can be equipped with this kind of bullet. And the supply is limited. Let's not say 1 soldiers, even if soldiers are equipped with origin bombs, it's unrealistic. So your proposal won't work at all. Wu Shifeng's face was a little ugly. He clenched his fists and said in a deep voice, but just relying on our dozens of people may not be able to wipe out all the eclipses. It's better to have more people. A sharp light flashed in Zhu Zheng's eyes. How could he not know what Wu Shifeng said? But Wu Shifeng didn't understand at all that the current Jiangnan region didn't have that much manpower. Even 4 of the 6 major investigation teams are currently performing tasks outside. Jiangning City is Wu Shifeng's territory, so it is understandable that he is nervous and worried. However, in the Jiangnan region, it is impossible to put all its power on dealing with the eclipse. Zhu Zheng said slowly, our purpose this time is to destroy the eclipse organization. He changed the subject. However, it is not necessary to destroy them all at once. These guys are very cunning and have been playing hide and seek with us. They can run from Linhai City to Jiangning City and then they may escape to other places. to encircle and annihilate them, at least 10 times as many troops as they need to be mobilized. This is equivalent to bringing together top talents from all cities in the entire Jiangnan region. In doing so, we risk being attacked by other outside groups. Sun Tzu's art of war has it. Therefore, the law of using troops is to encircle them, if they are 10, to attack them, when they are 5, to divide them, if they are twice as many, to fight them, if they are few, to escape them, if they are few, and to avoid them, if they are few. Know yourself and the enemy, and you will never be imperiled in 100 battles. Wu Shifan was a little anxious. Then what do you mean? Zhu Zeng said, destroy them in one fell swoop first. Fight head on and destroy their organization. Find out their details. In this way, even if we can't get rid of them all at once, we can still get rid of their arrogance. Don't forget, we are fighting locally, and the continuous war of attrition is in our interest. Our troops and resources can be continuously supplemented from the rear, but their number is only 13, and they will be fewer and fewer. So in this battle, the further we go, the easier it is to fight. Zhu is a military strategist, and his thinking is strategic thinking. From the very beginning, he never thought that he must wipe out everyone in the eclipse in one fell swoop. This is certainly a beautiful wish, but it is too difficult to realize. The eclipse moon would not be so stupid that he knew he couldn't beat it, but ran over to fight with the people in the Jiangnan region. Deng Shentong, who was sitting below, listened to Zhu Zeng's words, and a hint of impatience flashed in his eyes. He folded his arms and said leisurely, maybe we have an easier way. That is, directly destroy their leader. As long as the Wolf King is defeated, the Wolf Pack will disperse as quickly as possible. The first time Deng Shentong spoke, he attracted everyone's attention. There is no way, in this operation, the Celestial Squad is undoubtedly the main force. And this captain level character is also the number one force in this operation on the surface. Zhu Shui smiled. He has always been very clear about Deng Shentong's character. It's just like this wanton publicity. But every time, Deng Shentong can complete the task very well. Zhu Shui likes such young people with fighting spirit and drive. Lan Xincheng, the secretary next to Zhu Zeng, said, we have very limited information about Eclipse Moon's team leader, Feng Huangyuanren. Even in Kanto, his personal information is still sealed. According to preliminary estimates, this person's combat effectiveness should not be inferior to the captain of the 6 major investigation teams. So it is very difficult to complete the beheading operation on him. Of course, if Captain Deng can do this, it will greatly shorten the progress of our expedition. Deng Shentong tilted his head, and his long silver hair hung down like a waterfall. Leave this matter to me. His eyes are full of self-confidence, which is not arrogance and conceit, but a clear understanding of his own strength. As long as the prey is marked by me, no one can escape. He's dead now, Deng Shentong said in a soft tone. This confident tone made the smile on Zhu Zeng's face even stronger. It's just that Bailey Changqing, who is a member of the combat command team, has a complicated expression on the opposite side of Deng Shentong. He who was promoted to captain did not have the confidence to say such words as Deng Shentong. This is the gap in strength. Once Deng Shentong spoke, the others basically had no extra voices. The situation is relatively clear, everyone basically knows it, and it's just a discussion of the details of the battle. So, do you have any other questions? If not, let's go straight to the topic, and talk about tomorrow's battle plan. Zhu Zeng glanced at everyone, and everyone had nothing to say. The 13 strangers in the outer city knew in their hearts that they were playing support, and the main force was the Celestial Squad. So their biggest role is to draw out the main force of the eclipse and create opportunities for the Celestial team. Zhu Zeng gestured to Lan Xincheng to tell everyone about the plan. Lan Xincheng cleared his throat and then spoke out the plan they had drafted long ago, just to add some additional details for today's discussion. And the time for the action has also been set, which will be at 2 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. This point of time is the time when people enter deep sleep, and it is also the time when they are the most tired and most likely to show their flaws. Chapter 640 Receiving Weapons. Zhang Yi didn't even think about the urgency of time. He glanced at the satellite phone, and it was 3:30 in the afternoon, which meant that in more than 10 hours, they would set off for Jiangning City to perform their mission. According to the predetermined plan, Lan Xincheng explained the content of the task to the 3 teams. The scope of the other party's current activities is Jiangning Square in the center of Jiangning. This is one of the busiest commercial districts in the area, and they have used technology that blocks satellite detection, preventing us from monitoring it in real time. At that time, we will first bomb the entire Jiangning Square in all directions. Then you 3 teams acted as forwards and slowly approached Jiangning Square from 3 directions. While waiting for the enemy to appear, your task is to hold them back and fight with them. The rest of the work will be handed over to the main force of this time, the Celestial Squad. As for the specific details of the mission, Lan Xincheng just brushed it off. Zhang Yi understands that the core of this mission is still here in the Shanshan team. And what they want to do, don't need too many people to know. This is also to prevent intelligence leaks and avoid situations similar to the first battle. After Lan Xincheng finished speaking, he looked at the crowd and asked again, "Any questions?" Xia Lingling sneered and crossed her arms nonchalantly. The expressions of the others are similar. They are very clear about their own positioning, and they have long been mentally prepared. But what about being bait? As long as this mission is successful, the benefits they can get are also considerable. Not only can realize the righteousness of the family and the country, win fame, but also get a lot of resources and territories. It's definitely worth their while to take the risk. Lan Xincheng waited for a few seconds, saw that no one raised any objections, and continued, "Then, please go and get ready for the battle." "Ready for battle?" Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows. He is fully armed now, and he doesn't need any special preparations. Chief of Operations Tu Yunli stood up slowly and said in a deep voice, "For this battle, the headquarters has equipped you with special weapons. Please come with me later to get them." He paused and emphasized again, "It is the special weapon used by Yan An's troops." When Zhang Yi and others heard this, curiosity and anticipation flashed in their eyes. The special equipment of Blizzard City's professional troops, they have never used it. But I have heard of it more or less, and I know its powerful characteristics. In Zhang Yi's mind, the black tights and the cold weapons made of standard adamantium metal appeared for the first time. And, the origin bomb. So far, with the help of Lu Karen, Zhang Yi has only reproduced the origin bomb. As for the Edelman metal and the black bodysuit, either the material is too difficult to synthesize, or the technological content is too high. Lu Karen will not be able to reproduce it for a while. Everyone. ZHU Zheng stood up, and the others also stood up one after another. ZHU Zheng's face was serious, like a piece of hard black iron. This battle is related to the reputation of our Jiangnan region and the honor of our country. Therefore, please do your best to kill the enemy, and be sure to kill these Ronin. Everyone answered in unison, "Yes." The loud and firm voice made the ceiling tremble. It doesn't matter where these people come from, whether they are good, evil, mean, cunning or dog. But in the face of the righteousness of the family and the country, they will not be ambiguous. This is a glorious deed that they will be able to speak out with pride in the future. After the meeting, ZHU Zheng left Deng Shentong, Tu Yunli and others alone. As core members, they still have more detailed battle plans to discuss. And the job of taking Zhang Yi and other strangers from the outer city to choose equipment was handed over to Bailey Changqing. To be honest, Zhang Yi felt a little aggrieved looking at it. Anyway, he is also the captain of the investigation team in name, at the same level as Deng Shentong. But it is obvious that Bailey Changqing has not entered the core circle of the combat command center at all. It can only be said that Blizzard City is the place where strength comes first. The level of ability determines a person's status. Zhang Yi and others followed Bailey Changqing all the way to the arsenal below. After layers of identity verification, Bailey Changqing opened the door of the arsenal. What came into view was a huge arsenal, with rows of weapons and equipment neatly placed inside. Firearms, cold weapons, battlesuits, tanks, armored vehicles, and even gunships. Bailey Changqing turned around, smiled and spread his hands towards the crowd. "Everyone, you can choose any weapon here. Take as much as you can." Zhang Yi frowned. "Oh." The smile on Bailey Changqing's face froze, and he quickly changed his words. "I mean weapons that can be carried on the body." Those with space abilities are not allowed to enter the space. Zhang Yi shrugged indifferently. He didn't like ordinary equipment at all. As soon as he came here, his eyes fixed on the various battle suits inside. Everyone couldn't wait to run into the arsenal, and then stared at the large number of new weapons inside, and the eyes burst out with light. Veteran Yu Zhang immediately came to the place where the anti-material sniper rifle was placed, opened a heavy weapon box, and took out a huge Barrett sniper rifle from it. Wu Shifan came to the area where the battle suits were piled up, picked, and bought himself a set of thick battle suits. This set of battle armor weighed kilograms, with many metal armors inlaid on the outside, and an exoskeleton device inside, which could enhance people's strength. It is very suitable for melee aliens of the reinforcement system like him. Some people have clear goals and quickly find the right weapons for them. Some people are thinking about what kind of weapon is suitable for them. After Zhang Yi came to the battle clothes area, he reached out and took off the black tights from the wall. But after the clothes were in his hands, he frowned slightly. The feeling of this thing is completely different from the battle suit worn in the martial arts arena that day. He tried other suits again and found that they all had the same texture. What's going on here? Could it be more advanced equipment? Thinking of this, Zhang Yi raised his head and scanned the entire weapon warehouse. Indeed, the weapons and equipment here are very advanced, but they are all general purpose weapons. Hot weapons don't mean much to Zhang Yi. He has Beizio and Leishu customized by Liu Karen. It is no exaggeration to say that the power of these two weapons has reached the peak of hot weapons for individual combat. Used with Zhang Yi's ability, it is far stronger than Barrett, Sand Eagle and the like. As for cold weapons, Zhang Yi walked over, picked up a dark dagger, and tried it in his hand. Sure enough, it was not made of Edmund metal. He basically understands something in his heart. It seems that the arsenal open to them in the Jiangnan region is not comprehensive. Zhang Yi walked back calmly and came to Bailey Changqing's side. He said in a low voice, "Are you going to send us with these things?" Bailey Changqing chuckled. "This is not to perfuse you. These are the common weapons of Yan'an's troops." That? Zhang Yi looked at him puzzled. Bailey Changqing explained, "The battle suit you used in the martial arts field before can only be used by investigation troops and a small number of high-level officials with special authority. As for the weapons made of adamantium, the same is true. They are not high-end products. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 641 EVERYONEN-039 S Responsibility. Zhang Yi complained in his heart, the headquarters is really enough chicken thieves. It has come to this kind of time, and they still haven't brought out the best weapons and equipment for them to use. But if you think about it carefully, it makes sense. After all, if those weapons appear in the outer city, they are all artifact level. If they are distributed in large quantities, they may cause competition in the future, and may also lead to technology leakage. Understanding is understanding, but Zhang Yi has always been a bastard if he doesn't take advantage of it. He approached Bailey Changqing and said in a low voice, "No matter what they are, you have to make a black tights for me and Liang Yu. Based on our friendship, this matter is no problem, right?" Bailey Changqing's face was a bit perplexed. Those are all control level equipment, and they cannot be easily given to other people. Especially the battle suits, which are all high-tech products, and I can't give them to you. As soon as Zhang Yi opened his mouth, he said two things, which made it very difficult for him. Zhang Yi stared. Difficult to do? Then don't do it. Bailey Changqing waved his hands with a smile. Don't be angry. Although this matter is troublesome, it is not without discussion. If it was someone else, Bailey Changqing would have to consider the possibility of him dying in battle. But for Zhang Yi, there is no need to worry about this at all. In Blizzard City, there are not many people who really understand Zhang Yi's strength, and he is definitely the one who knows best. Because Zhang Yi told him personally that his strength was no less than that of the late Captain Bian Junwu. Combined with Zhang Yi's dog behavior, it is even more difficult to kill him. Then tell me, what should I do? Zhang Yi asked. Bailey Chanking looked around, pulled Zhang Yi to a corner where no one was around, and then whispered, "I will give you the battle clothes of me and Meng Xiaoyu first. But when you come back, you must return them to us. In terms of weapons, you all have your own exclusives, so there is no need to ask me for them." Seeing Bailey Chanking's serious expression, Zhang Yi also understood the rarity of that black tights. Although it's a pity that I can't ask for 10 sets of 8 sets to go back. However, it is good to get 2 sets and wear them, which can greatly increase their survival rate in missions. Okay, that's it. Zhang Yi returned to the arsenal and pretended to select some equipment. The others also chose their own weapons, and there was nothing missing from the whole body, wishing to be armed to the teeth. Although the standard weapons used by the Yana and Special Forces are relatively ordinary to Zhang Yi, they are all excellent things to them. After everyone selected their weapons, Bailey Chanking said to them, "Now, everyone will stay in the combat center for the time being. Someone will send you there when the time comes." The combat center is relatively large, so there is naturally a rest area. So the aliens from the outer city separated in 2s and 3s. Some discussed the next tactics with serious expressions, and some went to recharge their batteries and prepare for the next big battle. And Zhang Yi mysteriously called Liang Yu and followed Bailey Chanking to the special rest area for their black-robed investigation team. Bailey Chanking asked Meng Xiaoyu for her battle clothes and handed over his suit to Zhang Yi. The battle suit is intelligently shrunk, so there will be no incompatibility in terms of body shape. Go next door and change first. Zhang Yi handed over Meng Xiaoyu's suit to Liang Yu. Liang Yu had seen this black suit before and heard Zhang Yi talk about its magic. When she got the battle suit, she couldn't help thinking to herself, Zhang Yi even wanted this kind of thing. It's really amazing. She took the battle suit and went to the women's changing room next door without making a fuss. Zhang Yi went to the men's locker room and began to undress on his own. At this moment, Bailey Chanking walked in from the outside. Zhang Yi turned around and met his eyes with a bit of vigilance. "What are you doing in here?" At this moment, he just took off his shirt, revealing his strong upper body. After the end of the world, he will not neglect to exercise every day, so his body is very fit, and there is hardly a trace of fat on his body. Bailey Chanking smiled and waved his hands. "Don't get me wrong, I just want to chat with you before you leave." As he spoke, he folded his arms and leaned against the wall. Zhang Yi said lightly, "If you have any questions, just ask." Bailey Chanking's expression became serious. He frowned slightly, stared at Zhang Yi and said, "What is your plan for this operation? The headquarters doesn't know your strength, and they treat you as an ordinary alien to arrange actions. But I know that your strength is definitely not inferior to Deng's supernatural power. So, are you planning to make a move at a critical moment, take down the eclipse, and take credit for it?" Zhang Yi has already changed into tights. After hearing Bailey Chanking's words, he had a playful expression on his face. "Do you see me like that? It's quite similar." Bailey Chanking nodded without hesitation. "That's how you played in Xianhei City before." Zhang Yi, thinking about it carefully, it seems to be the case. At the beginning, he pretended to be weak, and then waited for the right opportunity to reap the fruits of victory. Zhang Yi shook his head. "At the beginning, I wanted to eliminate you and Kangai and protect the safety of myself and the people around me. But to be honest, I'm not very interested in the credit for this mission. Those are not important to me." Bailey Chanking let go of his arms, stared at Zhang Yi and said, "Then what are you doing for?" "Not for anything." Zhang Yi smiled and said, "It's just because I'm from Huago. It's as simple as that." As soon as these words came out, Bailey Chanking looked at Zhang Yi with respect in his eyes. "So that's the case. I'm really sorry. I thought you had other purposes." Zhang Yi smiled and said, "Of course I have my own ideas, but at this time, if people lose their sense of collective honor, how can there be eggs under the overturned nest?" He put on his combat uniform unhurriedly and carefully pasted the velcro. "But this time, with the Celestial Squad as the main force, I won't expose my identity as an early bird. When necessary, I will take action. You can rest assured about this. But, I hope you can keep it secret for me for the time being." Zhang Yi blinked at Bailey Chanking. Bailey Chanking lowered his head and sighed. As the investigation captain of Blizzard City, concealing important information made him feel uneasy. But this is a secret between him and Zhang Yi, and he must keep it secret. However, he vaguely understood that it was impossible to keep the secret forever. At that time, how will he face Zhu Zheng? This question gave Bailey Chanking a headache. Sure enough, human greed is a terrible thing, and it will leave you with endless troubles. Right now, we can only take one step at a time. Relax, I understand. I'm sure you won't disappoint. The corner of Zhang Yi's mouth smiled even wider, and he didn't answer Bailey Chanking's words. He won't promise anything. He can only say that he will kill as many Eclipse members as possible while ensuring the safety of himself and Liang Yu. Chapter 642 Gunship. Everyone has put on brand new weapons and equipment and is equipped with communication and imaging equipment. Except for Zhang Yi and Liang Yu, almost everyone carried a big tactical backpack on their backs. At this time, the convenience of the aliens of the space system appeared. Chen Xiaoxiu and Peng Li looked at Zhang Yi, and after some hesitation, they decided to carry the weapons on their backs. After all, they didn't fully admit that Zhang Yi was their captain. When necessary, they will choose to leave Zhang Yi and act on their own. Zhang Yi didn't bother to take the initiative to help them. Giving up helping others and respecting the fate of others is to be responsible to others and to oneself. After the fighters arrived in Jiangning City, Zhu Zheng personally guarded the combat command center and was responsible for commanding the tactics on the spot. Therefore, this operation can be called a large-scale mobilization of Blizzard City. It can be seen how determined Zhu Zheng is to win this operation. Just after midnight, Zhu Zheng's voice came from the communication equipment of Zhang Yi and others. Outer city troops, get ready to go. Zhang Yi and the others stood up immediately. They were organized into groups of 13 people and 1 cat, and they planned to go to the battlefield by Blizzard's special train. But at this time, Bailey Chanking came over and said to everyone, "Let's go, I will take you to the airport." Zhang Yi and others. Airport? Zhuo Fiyu asked curiously. Under this temperature, is it still possible to take a plane to Jiangning City? Bailey Chanking smiled lightly. Military aircraft are different from civilian ones. There are several extreme cold-resistant fighters in the region. We introduced the technology of Fremens in the north and made them. Although they can't fight for a long time, but it's fine for short distances. Soldiers are precious and fast. Taking a special train is too slow, and Jiangning City has already been invaded, so there is a possibility of being discovered by taking a special train. Fremens is a country in the north, and most of the land is in the cold zone, so their technology in the field of cold resistance is very advanced. Everyone nodded in understanding, and then followed Bailey Chanking, and left the combat center. After leaving the combat center building, they immediately drove to the southeast region in a black chariot. Less than 10 minutes later, they arrived at an airport. It's just that the sky was pitch black at this time, and there was no plane above the airport, only a huge dome buckled upside down in the airport. Bailey Chanking got out of the car first, and led everyone to the dome-like airport. There are heavy guards here, and there are dozens of Yan'an troops in black combat uniforms at the door. After Bailey Chanking walked over to confirm the information with them, the other party released them. Zhang Yi and others followed Bailey Chanking into the inner space of the airport. In the huge dome-like space, I saw more than a dozen huge fighter planes. There is no such thing as a transport plane that is too large, and that kind of thing is basically difficult to fly under extremely cold temperatures. Zhang Yi took a closer look and saw 3 styles of fighter planes inside the airport. Although he doesn't know much about airplanes, he has read some military books and can recognize their types: bombers, fighter jets, and gunships. Bailey Chanking led them and walked up to an armed helicopter. He made a gesture to everyone, "Go up." Zhang Yi looked at Liang Yu, Chen Xiaoxiu and Peng Li, and walked into the helicopter without saying a word. The internal space of this combat helicopter is not small, enough to accommodate a dozen of them, and it seems relatively spacious. The others didn't delay and quickly boarded the helicopter. It's just that Zhuo Fiyu was extra careful and asked Bailey Chanking, "Can we ensure that we won't be hit in the air? When flying at high altitude, if attacked, almost all the people on board will be killed." Even if it is the most powerful alien of the strengthening system, if it falls from a height of 1,000 meters, it will be smashed into mud. But Zhang Yi didn't worry about this issue. With the existence of a different dimension, even if he encounters a plane crash at high altitude, he can escape with Liang Yu and Huata. Bailey Changqing laughed when he heard Zuo Fiao's question. Before Bailey Changqing could speak, Yu Zhengyang, a veteran of Zuchuan City, explained, "Don't underestimate the defense power of armed helicopters. This is one of the most elite armed fighters in the country, Yinglang 17. In addition to the factor of flying height, I can't think of anyone who can shoot it down." Zuo Fiao said calmly, "Be careful sailing for 10,000 years. It is also the first time for him to sit on Wuzhi, so it is inevitable that he will be nervous. After all, before the end of the world, he was just an ordinary office worker. Then at least tell us, where is the umbrella bag?" Yuan Heo asked weakly. "In case something goes wrong, we can still skydive." Bailey Changqing had an uncontrollable smile on his face. "Don't even think about this problem. At this temperature, non-professionals like you skydiving are basically looking for death, and you will freeze into popsicles in the air. But if you have to worry about this, there is an umbrella bag behind you." According to what Bailey Changqing said, Yuan Heo found a camouflage backpack. He hurriedly took the backpack and handed it to Xia Lingling next to him, as if offering a treasure. "Lingling, here you are." Xia Lingling frowned, grabbed the umbrella bag, and threw it on the ground. You are too timid. I'm just worried that something will happen to you." Bah, with your crow's mouth, can't you say something nice?" Xia Lingling stretched out her hand to grab Yuan Heo's cheek, making his face as pale as Mr. Void's become even whiter. Everyone on the helicopter looked at the two of them, as if watching the excitement. Although in the last days, the emotions between people are extremely indifferent, but it does not mean that everyone does not desire sincere emotions in their hearts. Therefore, when many people saw Yuan Heo and Xia Lingling fighting, there were obvious smiles in their eyes, as well as a hint of envy. Zhang Yi inadvertently turned his head and looked out the window, just in time to see several familiar faces appearing beside another helicopter not far away. Long silver hair hangs down smoothly along the back, and her slender and fit body makes most men feel jealous. There is no doubt that he is the captain of the Xianshan team, the son of the Deng family in Blizzard City, Deng Shentang. At this time, Deng Shentang led the 9 members of the Xianshan team, talking and laughing, walking towards the helicopter. Their actions were separated from those of Zhang Yi and others. Zhang Yi and the others are the vanguard, responsible for luring the eclipse to dispatch. As for Deng Shentang and the others, they waited for the other party to expose their target, and then acted according to the situation. However, compared to the worries and tensions of the teams in the outer city, the members of the Xianshan team were obviously much more relaxed. Some of them had smiles on their faces, and some still looked sleepy, as if no one took this task too seriously. After all, in Blizzard City, their celestial team has always had the highest mission completion rate and the lowest battle damage ratio. In other words, there was never a task they were unable to accomplish. In addition, this time it was a big mobilization at the headquarters, with full preparations, and ZHU Zheng himself was in charge to guide. No matter how you look at it, this task will not be too difficult. A team member with disheveled hair yawned. "Let's finish the task early today, and I'm still waiting to come back to eat with my wife." Another team member smiled and said, "It's only less than 1 o'clock, and your wife won't be able to wake up when you come back." There was a calm smile on Deng Shentang's face. Hey, don't be careless. This time the opponent is not weak, so use some snacks." "Got it, Captain." The players agreed with a smile. At this time, a black extended car parked next to the helicopter. A bodyguard came over and opened the car door, and an old man in a white tank suit stepped down from it. It was the head of the Deng family, Deng Yuanbo, one of the few giants in Blizzard City. Chapter 643 Attack. Seeing Deng Yuanbo, Deng Shentang also hurried over. "Uncle, why did you come here in person?" Deng Yuanbo looked up at his most important nephew and said with a smile, "This task is very important to you and our Deng family, so I came here to give you a few words." Deng Shentang said with a smile. Uncle, don't worry, I'm confident that I will wipe out these gangsters within 3 hours. Deng Yuanbo sighed. It's okay for you to be like this all the time. Listen carefully to a few words. Please tell me what uncle has to say. I will keep it in my heart. Deng Shentang's expression couldn't help becoming serious. Deng Yuanbo smiled, but his tone became low. Don't underestimate those neon rogues. You haven't dealt with them on the battlefield before, so you don't know how crazy those people are. They are perverts who can give their lives for their so-called beliefs. Although I hate those people, I have to admit that they are terrible. So this battle, you have to be extremely careful. Deng Yuanbo opened his eyes, and the slender pupils burst out with a wild light. As long as you successfully annihilate the Eclipse group in this battle, your reputation will spread throughout the Jiangnan region and even the whole world. At that time, our Deng family will have room to operate. Deng Shentang's face was still full of confidence, but his eyes became much more determined. He nodded slowly and said to Deng Yuanbo, Uncle, please rest assured. This battle, I will definitely win beautifully. Deng Yuanbo nodded with a satisfied smile. That's good. I'll be here waiting for news of your victory. After Deng Shentang bid farewell to Deng Yuanbo, he turned and walked towards the armed helicopter. As if feeling something in his heart, he looked at another helicopter in the distance and saw Zhang Yi, who was leaning against the window and looking this way. Deng Shentang smiled brightly and stepped into the helicopter. Zhang Yi smiled lightly, but he didn't have any complicated thoughts in his heart. After all, those things about the son of the big family have never had anything to do with him. There are only 2 things he needs to do. The first is to protect myself, Liang Yu, and Hu Aha. The second is to kill the members of the Eclipse group. What are you thinking about? Liang Yu's cold voice rang in Zhang Yi's ear. Hu Aha also raised her head, looking at Zhang Yi eagerly. Zhang Yi looked back at them with a smile on the corner of his mouth. It's nothing, I was just thinking, how strong is the leader of the Eclipse Moon, Feng Huang Yuan Ren? What Zhang Yi said was also true. After seeing some of the images of Dagon's AI engine and others, he already had a basic judgment on the strength of the Eclipse in his heart. The strength of such an organization differs from that of the investigation team. However, it is always the strongest that determines the upper limit of the organization. Zhang Yi had a feeling in his heart that that guy must be extremely dangerous. It even made him think that if he couldn't kill him in this mission, then the operation couldn't be considered a success. When Chen Xiaoxiao and Peng Li heard this, they didn't take it seriously. That kind of thing, just leave it to the God team to deal with it. Peng Li shook her index finger, looking like someone who came here, and pointed to Zhang Yi. Humans, the most important thing is to recognize your own abilities. We aliens from the outer city, even though we can dominate our respective territories, we are still not as good as the regular army. But this is also good. The greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. We only need to help the celestial squad lure the enemy and delay the time. The smile on the corner of Zhang Yi's mouth grew stronger. He nodded at the two. Well, you are right. I think so too. At this time, at the Combat Command Center, Commander ZHU Zheng had already sat in front of the big screen. The surveillance equipment that everyone carried with them recorded the scene in front of them, which he had a panoramic view of. Besides ZHU Shui, Chief of Operations Tu Yunli and Secretary Lan Xincheng are all ready to arrange actions according to changes in the battlefield at any time. Now, let's go. Go to Jiangning City. ZHU Zheng gave an order, and 2 armed helicopters boomed into the sky. The huge fan blades whipped up a strong wind, and the canopy of the airport spread out like wings to both sides. 2 armed helicopters left one after the other, and flew towards Jiangning City. ZHU Zheng glanced at the time and ordered, "You can also act over there." Jiangning City. It was midnight, the wee hours of the morning. All the members of the Eclipse team did not fall asleep. They just finished cleaning an area and are cleaning the battlefield. This is a small organization in Jiangning Square, and more than a dozen men have been killed. In the corner of the warehouse, a mother hugged her daughter tightly, looking at the neon man in front of her in horror. Feng Huan Courtyard Ren glanced at them, and there was no wave in his eyes. Whether it is a living person or a dead person, there is not much difference in his eyes. Have it been cleaned up? The Phoenix Academy asked indifferently. Behind him, Seiichiro Jinguji pushed his gold-rimmed glasses and said impatiently, "The guys who resisted in the corner are all killed. Only the two of them are left. How to deal with it?" The Phoenix Academy sneered. "Is there any need to ask this question?" He spread his hands, turned and walked out of the warehouse. "Nobunaga, send them on their way." Phoenix Court said to the samurai next to him. Tsukamoto Nobunaga looked at him like a fool. "Are you an idiot? Let me do something like this. Noble warriors will not attack unarmed women and children." Phoenix Academy pouted and pointed at him with some displeasure. "Nobunaga, you can't get rid of your bad habits. This kind of pretending to be noble will kill you sooner or later." Tsukamoto Nobunaga said disdainfully, "People like you can't understand the thinking of samurai." The two chatted casually and left from the warehouse. The mother and daughter in the warehouse looked at the Ronin in the distance, and their nervous mood relaxed a little. Unexpectedly, they would let themselves go. But just when the two of them thought that they would survive the catastrophe, a girl who looked about 18 or 19 years old and wearing a black mask walked over. She looked at the mother and daughter indifferently, raised her hand and shot 2 silver needles, piercing the throats of the mother and daughter. "Ninjas don't show mercy," Mayu's Hanachiyo said indifferently, and then disappeared into the shadows. Phoenix Academy and Nobunaga are still arguing about the so-called Bushido philosophy. At this moment, Mayumi Takuchi, the maiden who had been silently following beside the Phoenix Academy, let out a light sigh. Then she slowly raised her head and looked up into the sky. "Jen, danger is coming." The laziness on Phoenix Courtyard's face suddenly subsided. Everyone also looked towards the sky following Mayumi Takuchi's voice. "A crisis from heaven, isn't it?" The Phoenix Academy laughed teasingly. "Ah, I see. Those guys from the Jiangnan region must be unwilling to give up and are coming to attack us again." Seiichiro Jinguji cut with an impatient look on his face. "It's really troublesome. This time, we won't be killed, right?" "Of course not." The Phoenix Academy smiled resolutely. The smile on the corner of its mouth was a little crazy and cruel. "It's them who will die." Chapter 644 Fire Sea. The armed helicopter flew across the night sky, and a layer of frost formed on its hard shell in the cold night, but it did not affect its fast flight. It's just that in this environment, its endurance has also been greatly challenged, and it is probably only suitable for such short distance flights. 10 minutes later, Zhang Yi and the others flew all the way from Blizzard City to Jiangning City. Just when they came to the sky above Jiangning City, through the ice flowers on the window, they could vaguely see the warm yellow light being lit up on the ground. "Huh? What's that? A bonfire?" Zhang Yi poked his head over. At the same time, there was a faint rumbling sound in my ears. Everyone heard this thunder-like movement and couldn't help but move closer to the window to watch. When they took a closer look, they couldn't help being shocked. The sea of fire. The area in the center of Jiangning Square, has turned into a huge sea of flames. From time to time, there will be violent explosions coming from the ground, and the sound reaches high into the sky, as loud as thunder. "What's going on?" Zhang Yi frowned, feeling a little surprised. And at this moment, Zhu Zeng's voice sounded in the communication equipment at the right time. "Have you all seen the explosion in Jiangning City? Don't be surprised. This is the first step of our plan. First use the Kanglang 5 bomber to bomb the entire Jiangning Square. After this round of bombing, Jiangning Square will no longer have a place to hide. Even if we can't eliminate a few Eclipse Ronin, at least we can force them out." Zhang Yi immediately thought of the bomber he saw in the airport, and he understood. Eclipses have special instruments and equipment that can shield satellite monitoring signals within 5 kilometers. But Blizzard City also has a way to blow up the entire Jiangning Square for you. All troubles come from insufficient firepower. Blizzard City has no shortage of ammunition. If it wasn't for the difficulty in transportation, Zhu Zeng would have sent hundreds of cannons directly to level the entire Jiangning Square. Looking at the explosion flames below, Yu Zhengyang clenched his fists excitedly. "Now, it will be much easier for us to act. If you're lucky, blow them all to death." On the other hand, Zuo Fiao calmly reminded, "It's best not to have too good fantasies about this kind of thing. If those guys can be killed so easily, it doesn't take us so long to prepare to come back." Yu Zhengyang took a deep breath. "I know. You don't need to remind me about this matter." Peng Li and Zhang Yi were relatively close together, so they went to the same window to watch. Seeing the vast sea of flames below, she couldn't help asking, this kind of large-scale coverage of the fire, unless the opponent is familiar with the terrain and finds an underground bunker, it will be difficult to survive, right? Zhang Yi did not directly answer this question. Have you ever heard of napalm? He asked rhetorically. Hey? Peng Li blinked her big eyes. She had never heard of such a thing. Zhang Yi pointed to the sea of flames below. Simply put, it's an incendiary bomb. It doesn't have the destructive power of a bomb, but it can burn a large area. Even if it is the headquarters, it is impossible to use all bombs, to bomb all within a radius of 5 kilometers. Therefore, napalm bombs are used in large quantities. This is to consume oxygen and destroy resources such as food in Jiangning Square. The Eclipse team had to come out and fight us. Zhang Yi laughed. I don't believe that those guys would be easily burned to death by the fire. Especially in this weather. Peng Li blinked suspiciously, then turned her gaze to Chen Xiaoxiao. Chen Xiaoxiao nodded. He's right. But next, it will be much easier for us to find the enemy. At least we won't be ambushed by the opponent in advance and fall into the troublesome situation of street fighting. While speaking, the armed helicopter stopped 10 kilometers away from Jiangning Square. Since the ability of the opponent's alien is unknown, it is natural to keep a certain distance before landing. Avoid landing into a box. After the fire burned, a drone flew over Jiangning Square. A spherical device protruded from the bottom of the drone, emitting a faint red light. Immediately, an invisible electric wave swept across the entire Jiangning Square in an instant. This is the Combat Command Center. A staff member reported to ZHU Zheng and Tu Yunli. The communication blockade of the Jiangning Square area has been completed. They cannot use communication equipment to communicate, let alone ask for help from the outside world. ZHU Zheng nodded. Very good. Let them become headless chickens first, and then crush them to death one by one. Let the opponent lose the means of contact first, but the communicator and the Jiangnan region will not be affected, so that this battle can take the initiative from the beginning. After the helicopter landed, orders from the headquarters sounded in the headsets of several captains. Zhang Yi's team, you enter the square area from the southeast. Wu Shifeng team, you enter the square area from the west. Zhuo Fiayu's team, enter the square area from the north. Remember, your task is to attract firepower and delay the eclipse. If encounters occur, the first task is to protect your own safety, not to take the initiative. Zhang Yi said calmly. Got it. He took out 2 silver white pistols from the different space. These are the Beizao made by Lu Karen for him, which can hold 20 rounds of holy silver bullets. Zhang Yi walked over and opened the door of the cabin, turned around and said to Liang Yu, let's go. Liang Yu followed behind Zhang Yi without thinking. Peng Li and Chen Xiaoxiao looked at each other. They were also very nervous at the moment, but this nervousness was accompanied by excitement. There are dangers and benefits. As long as they can successfully complete this task, the gains will be huge. The two nodded to cheer each other up, and then followed Zhang Yi with a tactical backpack on their backs. On Zhang Yi's tactical helmet, the location and path to enter the square were marked for him by the headquarters, so he didn't have to worry about getting lost here. At the same time, he can also check the action routes of the other 2 teams clearly. The 3 teams marched in a triangular route. This is tricky. Through the 3-point positioning method, you can confirm the position of the other party. After all, within a radius of 5 kilometers, the detection effect of the satellite was blocked by the opponent's technical means. So in the following, the location of the opponent's general can only be found through manual methods and calculations. Catch the thief first, catch the king. Killing or capturing Feng Huang Yuanren alive is the most important thing in this mission. The 3 teams set off one after another, and not far away, another armed helicopter also landed slowly. Above this is the members of the Celestial Squad. Seeing the 3 teams from the outer city marching towards Jiangning Square, Deng Shentang's eyes were playful. When they go, there is a high probability that they won't come back. However, if they can insist on waiting for our support, it will prove that they are indeed capable. At the very least, we will be able to absorb them and join Blizzard City's Yan'an team. It is not impossible for those who perform well to enter the investigation team. The latter mentioned by Deng Shentang naturally refers to Zhang Yi. Ever since they met in Blizzard City, Deng Shentang has admired Zhang Yi very much and has always wanted to draw Zhang Yi into the Xianshan team. Let me see how you can perform this time, Deng Shentang said with a smile. Then they began to calmly wait for the command from the headquarters to let them attack. Chapter 645 Soul Beast. Ever since Zhang Yi and the others got off the armed helicopter, there have been no orders from the headquarters. Zhang Yi understood that the next order might have to wait until the members of the Eclipse team appeared. The sea of fire in front of him has gradually extinguished. After all, the power of napalm bombs cannot last for too long, and the ultra-low temperature of -2 degrees at midnight is enough to make the flames disappear quickly. However, no one knows the location of the members of the Eclipse team at this time. I hope it's not too unlucky to meet their main members. If that's the case, I can only choose to retreat a certain distance first, Zhang Yi murmured. It is impossible for him to fight against the entire Eclipse Moon team by himself. After Zhang Yi and the others arrived at the designated place, they had to make judgments according to their own will. Zhang Yi did not rush forward, but stood cautiously on the spot, observing all the scenes in front of him. At this time, Jiangning Square had been burned into dilapidated ruins, and grey-black smoke rose into the sky. Zhang Yi asked Huahe on his shoulder, "Huahe, can you smell the breath of a living person?" Huahe's gaze swept across the ruins in front of her sharply. She sniffled, but finally shook her head helplessly. Zhang Yi sighed. "Is it because of the fire?" Meow. After the fire burned, the smell became complicated, and it was difficult to distinguish the breath of living people from it. Chen Xiaoxiao and Peng Li walked over. "Captain, what should we do next?" After Zhang Yi thought for a moment, he made his own choice. "Just wait here for them to come over." Chen Xiaoxiao. Peng Li. Chen Xiaoxiao couldn't help but said, "Is there a possibility that we are here to encircle them, not they are encircling us?" Peng Li said, "Yes. Is it appropriate to wait here?" Zhang Yi ignored them and began to carefully check the surrounding environment. He is good at ranged attacks, not melee. Once he is attacked by melee masters such as Dagon Yangjin or Tsukamoto Nobunaga, it may also be dangerous for him, about 0.01% danger probability, which has to be guarded against. So he had to figure out the environment here, choose a safe location, and wait for the rabbit to attack. Using Thunderbolt with the origin bomb, his range can completely cover the entire Jiangning Square within 5 kilometers. Zhang Yi answered them casually, while checking the surrounding environment. "Don't forget, their intelligence gathering capabilities are particularly strong. Presumably by now, they already know our position, and have dispatched troops to deal with us. I'm not familiar with this area, and they have the first move advantage. So I plan to stop with static." Zhang Yi's eyes wandered around for a long time, and then he determined the location of his ambush, a burnt black commercial building. Zhang Yi turned around and gave orders to several people. "I will carry out an ambush on the roof, and your task is to protect my safety nearby." After Zhang Yi finished speaking, without waiting for Chen Xiaoxiao and Peng Li to agree, he directly opened the door to the dimension. "Liang Yu, you are responsible for protecting me personally." Liang Yu nodded. "There is no need to say anything about this kind of thing." The two and Huahe entered the gate of the dimension and appeared on the top of the building the next moment. Only Chen Xiaoxiao and Peng Li were left, staring at each other on the snow below. How did he leave us here?" Peng Li had a look of disbelief. "What kind of captain? It's too irresponsible." She stomped her feet in anger. Chen Xiaoxiao raised her brows, looked around cautiously, and said, "He knows very well that our relationship is only a temporary cooperation. So he didn't intend to care about our thoughts from the beginning. It's just that, now that everyone is in a dangerous battlefield, his approach is indeed a bit naive." Peng Li sighed. "Then what shall we do?" Chen Xiaoxiao said, "Follow what he said first. Leaving the group rashly will only increase our danger." The two had no choice but to ambush around the building, waiting for the people from the Eclipse to come to them. And their conversations, in fact, can be heard clearly by the combat command center. Zhu Zheng folded his arms and couldn't help sighing. This Zhang Yi is too stupid. However, he is very smart, and this is indeed a good way to test the opponent's ability. They all know that the eclipse moon has a powerful ability to obtain intelligence. But what this ability is like, no one knows. Zhang Yi chooses to hide on the periphery of Jiangning Square and does not take the initiative to attack. If the opponent can still find their location clearly, it can basically be concluded that the opponent's ability is a terrifying ability similar to prophecy. So, what are the other two teams doing? ZHU Zheng looked at the other two outer city teams. The people on Wu Shifeng and Zuo Fiao's side also maintained an extremely vigilant attitude as they moved forward. This operation, everyone knows that there are many dangers, and dare not be careless in the slightest. Wu Shifeng and the four of them also arrived at the designated place. There are not too many verbal arrangements between several people. Compared with Zhang Yi's side, people from other teams have already formulated a battle plan. After all, not everyone is like Zhang Yi, who has full confidence in his own strength. They need to plan a team battle to ensure nothing goes wrong. After entering the area of Jiangning Square, the first thing to do is to investigate. Zhang Yi from Wu Shifeng's team came out. He fixed his eyes on the large ruins in front of him, and then slowly squatted down. He was wrapped in a heavy battle suit, and even his hands were tightly covered by the wide sleeves. But when he put his right hand on the snow, everyone next to him could clearly see that his sleeve was dangling restlessly. A purple brilliance gathered in his palm. Then a grey rodent popped out of his palm. Zhang Yi, a person with the ability to release. The code name of the ability is Soul Beast. He can transform his abilities into different animals, and these animals are like his avatars, who can share the five senses with him. Wu Shifeng looked at him and murmured in his heart, it's really convenient to use supernatural beasts to investigate. But since he is the leader of a faction, his ability is definitely not as simple as investigation. He must also have strong combat power. And when other people looked at Zuo Fiao curiously, small soul beasts crawled out of his palm like grey water. In just 10 seconds, hundreds of them appeared. They stood on the snowy ground and turned their heads to look at Zhang Yi, with a human-like light shining in their eyes. Go and find them, Zhang Yi said in a low voice. The soul beasts screamed ZHI ZHI ZHI, and then rushed into the burned square. Soon, it disappeared among the ruins. Zuo Fiao's team didn't have similar investigative methods, but they had a veteran who was proficient in scouting. Yu Zhengyang had been a scout for 7 years, so he was in charge of leading the way, carefully searching for traces of the Eclipse team. Chapter 646 Battle, Start. A certain area in Jiangning Square. The 13 members of the Eclipse group gathered here. Although there was smog around them, and black dust and smoke everywhere, they were not in the slightest distress. It seemed that before the bombing came, they had already avoided it in advance. 12 people formed a circle, and in the middle was the middle-aged Uncle Jinguji Ichiro. He habitually pushed his gold-rimmed glasses, and then took his hands out of his suit pockets. The slender and thin index finger was slowly raised, and a little golden light appeared on the fingertip. His eyes suddenly became sharper, and his right hand quickly swiped in the air, while chanting a spell. Pro, soldier, fight, person, all, formation, in, row, front. Note, this is a mistranslation by Neon. The 9 secrets comes from Baopuzzi. The song version reads, those who are fighting in battle march forward in array, and the Taoist version reads, those who fight in battle march forward in array. The golden light condensed in the air and quickly turned into a huge golden pentagram. In Jinguji's eyes, a golden light shone. As he pointed to the sky with his right hand, the golden pentagram shattered into pieces and turned into tiny charms that soared into the sky. A moment later, centering on the location of the Jingu temple, a majestic mist began to diffuse towards the surroundings. In just a few minutes, the entire Jiangning Square was enveloped. The 3 teams immediately discovered the abnormality and reported it to the Combat Command Center. Unknown fog was discovered. The coverage area is huge. It should be the people of the eclipse. Seeing this, ZHU Zheng immediately said, everyone, be careful to prevent the aliens who eclipse the moon from attacking by taking advantage of the fog. Needless to say, the aliens from the outer city will also be more careful. This ability is not mentioned in the intelligence at all. Zuo Fiao said with a serious expression. Sure enough, during the first battle, they still kept a lot Veteran Yu Zhengyang said calmly, "It's just a cover-up, to cover up the site, and it's not offensive." In the other team, a sneer appeared on the corner of Imo Zhanning's mouth. Dense fog can obscure people's sight, but it can't obscure soul beasts. Rather, this battlefield is more conducive to my performance now. In any case, the two teams are slowly moving towards Jiangning Square. On Zhang Yi's side, he erected a wall on the roof of a building on the edge of Jiangning Square, without any intention of moving forward. Just wait for the enemy to come to your door. And he was sure in his heart that the other party would definitely come to his door. At this time, all three investigation teams have the authority to act independently. When the situation ahead was unclear, ZHU Zheng would not order them to do things. This is the battlefield. The ability to adapt to changes is the most important. ZHU Zheng chooses to trust these strangers from the outer city. After Jinguji finished using his ability, he put his hands back into his pockets. A grey bat landed on his shoulder. It opened its mouth and then spit out 12 identical grey crows, which landed on the shoulders of the others. The look of impatience on Jinguji's face never disappeared. Next, this battlefield will become an unknown area. Mayumi, it's up to you. The Phoenix Institute smiled and waved to him. Thank you. Jinguji, your methods are still as reliable as ever. Cut. Jinguji didn't bother to talk to him and walked aside silently. Mayumi Takuchi, the witch, glanced at Phoenix Court, and after getting his approval, she walked slowly to the middle of the circle. Her hands turned transparent and slowly took out the scroll from her head. The scroll unfolded on the snow, but it wasn't stained by any snowflakes. Even the snowflakes flying in the air can't fall on it. As if this scroll does not exist in the world. Mayumi Takuchi knelt down on the snow. She raised her right hand, and a slender writing brush with the end, held by a kid, appeared in her hand. This time, she didn't take out the bright red ink, because the previous reserves had been used up. So she stretched out her left hand, revealing her white lotus root arm. The slender writing brush in the right hand stabbed at the arm without hesitation. Puff. Blood flowed profusely, but not a trace of blood wasted. The little ghost at the end of the brush was sucking gulps, and the blood condensed on the tip of the brush. Mayumi Takuchi looked extremely sacred, and began to write on the long scroll. After a long time, the scroll was already densely covered with blood characters. Phoenix Courtyard and Jingu Temple walked over, and looked at the divine script on it. Mayumi Takuchi's face was a little pale. Obviously the use of this ability was also very exhausting for her. But she still said calmly, the enemy has already arrived. They are in the west and north. There are 4 of them. Besides, there are enemies lurking in the dark, who haven't shown up yet. Jinguji frowned. Are there only 2 teams coming? The number of people this time is much smaller than last time. Maybe they are all elite. A deep smile appeared on the face of the Phoenix Academy. Maybe it's just cannon fodder to lure us out and test our abilities. Jinguji pushed his glasses. It doesn't matter. As long as Mayumi is here, we won't be at a tactical disadvantage. He looked at Mayumi Takuchi. Mayumi, come on. Tell us how to act. Takuchi Mayumi picked up the scroll and looked towards the west. It is good. In the middle of the battle, the sophomore boy Siwa Changwu sat cross-legged on a cardboard box with his eyes closed. His ability, Ghost Enlightenment, has been activated. There are 13 people in the Eclipse organization. Each of them is connected by a red thread in his field of vision, and the point of convergence is on his body. With his presence, no matter how far apart the 13 people are, they can get in touch in time. In other words, the information blocking function of the Jiangnan region has no effect on them. The Phoenix Academy smiled even more. These guys must have set up a trap waiting for us to jump in. They don't understand who is the prey and who is the hunter. Let's make a big fuss. The leaders of the Jiangnan region should also understand that the eclipse is something they can't afford. Combat Command Center. ZHU Zheng frowned as he looked at the thick fog that appeared in front of him. In addition to fighter planes, the armed forces they sent out also included low-altitude unmanned reconnaissance planes. But at this time, the shots of these reconnaissance planes were all covered up. Their advantage in local combat has disappeared like this. Next, we can only rely on the body camera of the alien team in the outer city to grasp everything that happened on the scene. And with the end of Mayumi Takuchi's divination, the members of the Eclipse team also received their combat instructions. Everyone is very optimistic about this campaign, because as long as they act according to Mayumi Takuchi's prophecy, they have never failed. One stranger after another left from the same place, and with the presence of Grey Crow, the Misty Mist seemed to have no restrictions on them. But Jinguji frowned slightly as he stared at the map on his phone. Why are there soldiers coming from only 2 directions? From this point of view, there is just one position vacant. Is this place intentionally left for us to escape, or is there something else? Phoenix Academy smiled slightly, walked over and patted him on the shoulder. There's no need to follow their rhythm. We need to take the initiative on the battlefield. Just trust Mayumi's divination. Jinguji frowned and thought for a moment before nodding. You are the captain, and I will leave this problem to you to solve. Don't be careless. If you are not careful, you will die. The Phoenix Academy waved at him, signaling him to leave quickly. What a crow's mouth. He cursed under his breath. Chapter 647. Your opponent is only one. Western line. Wu Shifeng and the others did not move forward in a hurry, but silently waited for Emo Zhanning's investigation results. The Soul Beast has already moved forward through the ruins, heading towards the area within the cone-shaped range ahead. They share the 5 senses with Emo Zhanning. As long as they detect the trace of the enemy, they will be sensed by Emo Zhanning immediately. 3 people from Wu Shifeng stood beside Emo Zhanning, while the 4 people were hiding behind a ruined bunker. Suddenly, a dazzling white light appeared in the vision of a soul beast. The next moment, it completely disappeared into the ruins. Emo Zhanning opened his eyes sharply. One of my soul beasts was killed. The expressions of Wu Shifeng and the 3 of them suddenly became serious. Did you find the person who eclipsed the moon? Let me take a closer look. A soul beast was killed, but Emo Zhanning did not rush. He could summon 138 soul beasts at once. Now that the direction of the dead soul beast is determined, other soul beasts can gather in that direction. Then determine the identity of the visitor. So, Emo Zhanning immediately gathered 10 soul beasts around that soul beast, and began to investigate information. The other soul beasts were ordered by Emo Zhanning to retreat. The area to the west of Jiangning Square is not large. Soon 10 soul beasts rushed here from the ruins. What awaited them was a thick gun barrel. Emo Zhanning immediately recognized his identity. The right hand is a huge black hand cannon, and the attack method is a special cannonball. The gunner of the Eclipse organization, Akira Kurosawa. The moment the soul beast appeared, it was killed by Kurosawa one after another. Emo Zhanning knew that there was not much time left for him, so he quickly used the only momentary perspective left by other soul beasts to observe the strange people around him. In addition to Kurosawa, Akira and my team, there are 2 figures walking slowly towards this side. One is Yoshimitsu Sakuraniwa, a spirited brother with a sofa hairstyle. As for the 3rd person, when he saw his figure clearly, Emo Zhanning's pupils shrank sharply. It turned out to be him. Damn it, how could we be so unlucky? As soon as the words fell, all the soul beasts he sent out were wiped out. Emo Zhanning stood up in horror, panting heavily. When Wu Shifeng and the others saw this, they couldn't help being shocked. Emo Zhanning, what did you see? What is it that scares you so much? A look of resentment flashed in Emo Zhanning's eyes, and he gritted his teeth and said, we met that monster here. Dagong's AI engine. As soon as these words came out, the faces of Wu Shifeng, Li Weihei and Jia Heting also became solemn. They have all seen the strength of Dagong's AI engine. In the first battle, with his own strength, he easily wiped out the 2 alien teams. Among the known enemies, he is definitely the most dangerous one. It's also the guy that everyone least wants to meet. But seeing Emo Zhanning's resentful look, Wu Shifeng snorted coldly, feeling a little contemptuous of him in his heart. Even if you meet a powerful guy, you don't need to be so afraid, right? We both carry a head on our shoulders, so I don't believe that the 4 of us are no match for him. As a powerful alien of the strengthening department, Wu Shifeng is also a hero. His strength is higher than that of Li Guoqiang and Meng Shuchen, who were killed by Dagon Yanjin. Coupled with the support of good teammates, he thinks his team can compete with Dagon Yanjin. Emo Zhanning covered his forehead, gritted his teeth and said, but he didn't come alone. He also brought 2 helpers. Even if it's 4 against 3, it's hard for us to beat them. He might die. But don't forget, our goal is not to defeat them. We just need to hold them back for a while. This should be possible. Wu Shifeng said very calmly. The captains of the 3 teams all have extraordinary courage, and the candidates for the regional evaluation are not random. Wu Shifeng's character is bold and cautious, fearless in the face of danger. When he said this, Wu Shifeng had already sent information to the headquarters. The western team has already encountered the enemy. 3 people have been found temporarily, namely Dagon Ki Engine, Sakuraniwa Yoshimitsu, and Kurosawa Akira. After the headquarters received the information, dozens of analysts in the Combat Command Center immediately began to operate on the computer, analyze the combat power of these 3 people, and use the algorithm to get the best response plan. ZHU Zheng looked at the report submitted by his subordinates and immediately said to Wu Shifeng, "Very good. Fight them according to the original plan. Hold them back and try to force them to use their abilities. Create a breakthrough opportunity for the Celestial team. Understand?" Wu Shifeng ended the conversation with the headquarters and then looked at the 3 people beside him. "Since you're here today, let's put life and death aside for now. Let's fight with them as much as we want." For Wu Shifeng, Jiangning is his homeland. Once this home is gone, his relatives and friends will be wiped out by the eclipse. So he had to fight to the death. Even if it is to pay his life for it, it is worth it. The 3 of Jiangning may not have as much dedication as him, but the matter has come to this point. It is impossible for them to back down. Fleeing the battle will not only ruin their reputation, but also be liquidated by the Jiangnan region. It's better to fight for a future. Jiangning gritted his teeth and shouted in a low voice, "Okay, let's fight them. I want to see how much these Neonophil weigh." According to the original plan, the 4 formed a diamond-shaped formation, with Wu Shifeng, a fortified alien, standing in front. Jiangning and Li Weihei lined up on the left and right, and Jia Heting was behind the crowd. Soon, a tall shadow slowly emerged from the mist. As the Yokozuna, Teiko Keientsu, his figure was the first to appear in front of everyone. Then came Yoshimitsu Sakuraniwa and Akira Kurosawa with playful smiles on their faces. With the help of Grey Crow, they could clearly find the enemy even in the dense fog, so they arrived in front of Wu Shifeng and others without any effort. When he saw the 4 of them, Dagon Ziyanjin suddenly frowned, looking disappointed. Aren't they the elite sent by the Jiangnan region? But why do they look so weak? Yoshimitsu Sakuraba folded his arms and said with a smile, "Probably came to test our cannon fodder. Just deal with it casually. I think the main force is from the back." Dagon Ziyanjin nodded. "If that's the case, then don't waste time with them." Seeing that the members of the Eclipse Moon did not take them seriously, Wu Shifeng and the others were all angry. Although they couldn't understand each other, their tactical helmets had translation functions, so it didn't affect their understanding of what the other party said. After all, they are also the heroes of the outer city. Even if they are not as good as the well-trained elite of Blizzard City, they are not easily manipulated by others. Wu Shifeng sneered. 4 against 3, I have the advantage. You seem to have misunderstood the situation. As soon as this remark came out, Yoshimitsu Sakuraba waved his hands again and again, who looked a bit murderous. No, don't get me wrong. He and Akira Kurosawa stepped back in tacit understanding. Then Yoshimitsu Sakuraba pointed at Dagon Yanjin. Your opponent is only 1. We promise not to intervene. A playful light flashed in his eyes. As long as you have the ability, you can kill him. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 648 Unpredictable. The northern team also encountered their enemies. In Jiangning Square, which has a radius of only 5 kilometers, encounters are very easy to happen. What's more, those who eclipse the moon have Grey Crows to lead the way. Therefore, before Zuo Fiao and the others found Eclipse Moon was the first to discover them. There are only 2 enemies here. A short-haired burly man with a sinister square face and rustic black-rimmed glasses, and a villain with a yellow hedgehog head and a metal baseball bat. According to the previously learned information, Zuo Fiao and the others immediately knew the other party's identity. The two people on our side are Michikami Iron Shinichiro Akatsu. Zuo Fiyu breathed a sigh of relief. Because according to the data, the combat power shown by these two people in the first battle was not too terrifying. At the very least, compared to Wu Shifeng and the others they met, Dagang Zai and Jin, these two didn't show particularly strong fighting power. At the combat command center, ZHU Zheng saw the news reported by the two teams and began to analyze it in his heart. 5 of the 13 members of the Eclipse group have appeared so far. That is to say, there are still 8 people who have not shown up. Even if the non-combat personnel are removed, there should be at least 6 combat-type aliens. ZHU Zheng crossed his hands to support his chin and stared at all the shots of other people on the big screen with stern eyes. It depends on what's going on with Zhang Yi. Unexpectedly, they had been waiting for a while in the southeast direction, where Zhang Yi was. As a result, none of the members of the Eclipse group showed up. Zhang Yi set up his gun, aiming at the surrounding space on the top floor, just waiting for an enemy to appear, and he will shoot him first. This is the edge of Jiangning Square, limited by the fog. He is still able to observe the surrounding space within 300 meters. However, because this place has just been bombed, the surface is still hot, so there is no way to use the infrared device. After absorbing part of Yuan Kangai's power, Zhang Yi's various abilities have been greatly improved now. Therefore, even if it is just an ordinary sniper rifle, if it falls into his hands, it will become a powerful weapon against aliens. What's more, this Thunderbolt is a super hot weapon that fits him very well after Liu Karen's transformation by using the ability of magic machine manipulation. Thunderbolt plus precise shooting plus holy silver bullets. Even a Delta level alien can be killed by a single blow. On both sides of him, Huahua and Liang Yu kept vigilant, guarding against sneak attacks. Huahua squatted on the balcony, her amber eyes scanning her surroundings like radar. The animal's hunter instinct allows it to quickly discover all creatures that appear around it. As for the good sisters Chen Xiaoxiao and Penli, they were staying cautiously under the building at this time. Enemies appeared on Wu Shifeng and Zuo Fiyu's side, making them more cautious. They all feel that the enemy will appear soon. But as time passed, the sound of fighting shouted and killed appeared in their communication devices, and the fog around here hadn't even changed in the slightest. What's going on here? Zhang Yi couldn't help but frowned. According to common sense, since the Eclipse Moon has a strong investigative ability, it must have discovered the arrival of himself and others long ago. But why did he wait for so long, and the enemy still didn't make a move? Could it be that Zhang Yi's pupils shrank, and a possibility came to his mind? The kind of ability they possess has seen through Zhang Yi's strength. So out of fear and vigilance, are you afraid to send people here? What kind of ability do they have? Zhang Yi muttered to himself. He was vigilant, thinking that his opponent was unpredictable and too terrifying. This is how it is in the alien world. If you are not careful, you will lose your life and be obliterated by strange and unknown abilities. Because the mutation of each alien is unknown, any kind of strange and mysterious abilities may appear. Even Zhang Yi, who is a top Delta level alien, can't guarantee that he will never be killed by a low level alien. So he said to Liang Yu and Huahua beside him, be careful and be on guard. Once we find anything wrong, the first thing we need to do is to protect our own lives. When Liang Yu and Huahua saw Zhang Yi being so cautious, their expressions became much more serious. Huahua immediately transformed into a gigantic form and let out a vigilant woo-woo sound, looking around with her big head. For fear of missing any enemy that may attack from the dark at any time. The Eclipse organization here. With Jingu GC Ichiro's reminder, Feng Haoan also noticed the gaps on the map. He rubbed his chin and murmured, Mayumi's divination can't be wrong. In other words, there are no enemies between the east and south areas. What kind of trick is the other party planning? The expression of Phoenix Academy is playful. He didn't like the feeling that things were out of his hands. But right now, he doesn't know the purpose of the Jiangnan region at all. At this moment, Nobunaga Tsukamoto, who had not attacked, came over. It doesn't need to be so troublesome. I'll go over and have a look. He looked back at Mayumi Takuchi. After all, Mayumi also said that I'm in the southeast today. Phoenix Institute smiled slightly. Indeed, Since Mayumi said it, there must be no problem. Nobunaga, I will leave that direction to you. Let's see what tricks the other party has. He waved his hand and said to the couple Takashi Takizawa and my wife Nanako beside him, Lance, my wife, you should follow Nobunaga. Yes, boss. Takashi Takizawa and my wife Nanako didn't have any objections, and the two followed Nobunaga with a sloppy face in that direction. The grey crows on their shoulders guided them in the direction of travel. The two sides encounter on the battlefield. There is not much nonsense, there is just a war. Wu Shifen was the first to meet Dagang Liangjin and the other three, and the battle started from them. From the combat command center and the Xianshan team, they can clearly see the scene of their battle. Even the most proud Deng Shentang restrained his usual cynical attitude at this time, and focused on the image on the screen. Pride, not arrogance. The capital of Deng Shentang's pride is precisely because he will never be negligent in any mission. If not, how could he occupy the top spot in Blizzard City's points chart for 3 consecutive months? To use a great man's words to describe it is, despise the opponent strategically, and pay attention to the opponent tactically. In this way, you can become a master. Even if all 3 troops from the outer city were sacrificed, the Celestial Squad would not make a move until they found out the true background of the eclipse. Everything is for the ultimate victory. Chapter 649 Clone. On Wu Shifen's side, the battle is imminent. Yoshimitsu Sakuraniwa and Akira Kurosawa stepped back silently, like everyone else in our department. In order to show that they would not intervene in this battle, they even came tens of meters away, found a collapsed pillar and sat down. Wu Shifen stared at the giant in front of him, thinking in his mind, these guys don't think much of us, but this is just right. For fight 1, our combined abilities even have a chance to kill him. Thinking of this, Wu Shifen was inevitably a little excited. If one of Eclipse Moon's core members can be killed, then they will receive extremely generous points rewards from the regional headquarters. Dagang Ziyanjin stared at them, raised his arms lazily, and waved at them. What are you waiting for? Are you afraid of fighting 1? As an alien of the Beastman family, Dagang Ziyanjin didn't even transform. Both words and actions revealed extreme contempt. Hateful. Wu Shifen gritted his teeth. Then come. As soon as he reached out his hand, he took off the huge weapon box from behind. It was a black metal box. If you didn't look carefully, you might even think it was a small coffin. Boom. The huge weapon case crashed to the ground. Wu Shifen's body also underwent a strange change at this time. His body began to twist and wriggle, and after a while, it actually began to split from the middle. A large mass of yellow flesh fell off along half of his body, and then fell to the ground sticky, like dough with too much water. But soon, the viscous mass swelled up, gradually taking the shape of a person. It was a naked person who looked exactly like Wu Shifen. This is Wu Shifen's ability. Second image. Although he was naked, his appearance and body were the same as Wu Shifen himself. This is part of his body. Wu Shifen, formerly a courier in Jiangning City. He grew up in an orphanage and grew up in loneliness since childhood, so the loneliness in his heart made him desperately long for love and companionship. Therefore, his ability is to split himself and obtain another reliable comrade in arms. In his opinion, for a powerful enhancement system ability user, what could be more advantageous than having 2 bodies? So now, what appeared in front of Dagang Ziyanjin was no longer a formidable reinforcement type ability user, but 2. Dagang Ziyanjin opened the weapon case, which was one body with 2 sides. He took out a huge silver horn bow from it and handed it to the clone. And he himself took out 2 huge copper hammers from the other side. The drum-beating Urn Golden Hammer, the weapon of General Fubo Ma Yuan of the Han Dynasty, the legendary leader of the 4 Fierce and 8 Sledger Hammers, and the weapon of Li Yuanba, the #1 warrior in the world. The copper hammer is twice the size of an adult head, and each hammer is made of solid alloy, weighing more than 100 kilograms. It is equivalent to carrying 2 adults in your hands as weapons. This kind of weapon originally only existed in legends. But in this era of mutation, there are really people who can use it freely. And the huge silver-horned bow in the clone's hand also looked full of pressure. Standing in front of the crowd, Wu Shifen said in a deep voice, "I'm holding him back from the front. You just use your own means to attack." The others said nothing, but their eyes were fixed on Dagang Ziyanjin. However, the two Ronin who were watching the battle from a distance did not dare to neglect. If they really believed what the enemy said, they would be pure fools. Oh, it looks very imposing. Dagon Yanjin commented lightly. He assembled his dragonfly cut, and with a wave of his hand, there was an astonishing sound of breaking the wind. As soon as Wu Shifeng finished speaking, he rushed towards Dagon Yanjin like a whirlwind. At the same time, his avatar also raised its bow and set its arrows. The huge silver ox horn bow was like a full moon. With a swoosh, the sound of piercing through the air was like the howling of a falcon. And the speed of the arrow was almost the same as that of Wu Shifeng's body, attacking Dagon Yanjin from two directions. Dagon Yanjin's eyes were fixed, and he swept across casually, and the blurred arrow was blown away. On the other side of his body, Wu Shifeng's heavy hammer had already slammed towards his waist. Also use cold weapons. Masters will choose blunt weapons. Because once hit, even if it is only a part of the body, it will quickly lose the combat effectiveness. Wu Shifeng attacked from both sides, and it was difficult for ordinary people to react. Dagon Yanjin is not a speedy alien, so he can't knock up arrows and then dodge. But in the face of the attacking heavy hammer, he only made one simple movement. A thick palm quickly and steadily received Wu Shifeng's thunderous blow. Boom boom boom. The huge impact force made Dagon Yanjin take 3 steps back. He looked at Wu Shifeng with some surprise, not bad strength. But Wu Shifeng was so frightened by this scene that he broke into a cold sweat. He tried his best to attack, but was blocked by the opponent with one hand. What a strong body and strength is this? Unexpectedly, Dagon Yanjin didn't get angry. Instead he became interested. He smiled and waved to Wu Shifeng. Come again. Wu Shifeng gritted his teeth, roared angrily, and rushed forward again with 2 heavy hammers in his hand. 2 golden hammers for beating drums and urns fell from a high altitude and slammed Dagon Yanjin's forehead with the force of thunder. This time, Dagon Yanjin's legs were separated on the ground, like 2 pillars rooted in the ground. This is the most classic posture in a sumo wrestling. Taking over the ground can make it immobile like a mountain. The heavy hammer fell hard, and this time Dagon Yanjin swung the dragonfly cut in his hand again. Chung. The sound of metal clashing was deafening. Dagon Yanjin just knocked lightly, and Wu Shifeng was sent flying upside down more than 10 meters away. Wu Shifeng only felt that his back was numb, and his jaw was in severe pain. When I looked down, I realized that my hands were shaking, and blood was flowing. Is the power gap so big? Wu Shifeng was stunned. Since the end of the world, he has traveled across Jiangning City, and has always been honored by his strength. It was the first time that he felt being ruthlessly crushed on the level of strength. But fortunately, he is not alone. While he was bearing the main frontal attack, his teammates also responded. A black crab appeared out of thin air on the back of Dagon Yanjin. The crab's eyeballs shone with a strange red light, and became more and more anxious. When Dagon Yanjin reacted, a violent explosion sounded from his back. Successful. There was a joyful smile on the corner of Imozanning's mouth. His soul beasts are shaped by supernatural powers. In addition to scouting, there are also soul beasts that can explode themselves. And the shot just now was combined with the ability of Li Weihei next to him. Li Weihei, like Zhang Yi, is an extremely rare space alien. It's just that his ability is different from Zhang Yi's. Zhang Yi's ability is storage, and his ability is transfer. In space, he can mobilize objects of a certain mass, even human beings. The attack just now was a combined attack skill that he used his own ability to put Imozanning's self-destructive soul beast on Dagon Yanjin's body. Chapter 650. After the smoke and dust from the explosion passed, Dagon Yanjin's expression was extremely ugly. A large area of his back was scorched black, and the back of his clothes were completely burned. Seeing this scene, Imozanning couldn't help but raise his mouth. It looks like he's not as scary as he thought. Yoshimitsu Sakuraba, who was watching the battle from the sidelines, slapped his forehead helplessly when he saw this scene. These guys are going to be unlucky. Don't they know that this suit is Dagon Glay's favorite? Akira Kurosawa nodded. With his body type, it is too difficult to find a suitable suit. This suit was specially ordered by a tailor. Yoshimitsu Sakuraba held his chest seriously and said, however, the guy who came this time is indeed stronger than last time. Dagon Yan Yanjin raised his head, his eyes were fierce, as if he wanted to eat people. He tore off the broken clothes, revealing his majestic figure. It's not the kind of muscular appearance, but fat and strong, with a big belly. Anyone who really understands fighting knows that this kind of posture is the most suitable for fighting. Dagon Yan Yanjin looked at the pieces of clothes in his hand, stared at Wu Shifeng and the others coldly and said, "You bastards actually ruined my last suit. I will tear you apart." Although his back was scorched black, there were no scars. Zhang Ying's exploding soul beast didn't even make him feel much pain. As a Yokozuna, what he desires most is enough strength, a huge body, and the power to destroy everything. And after becoming a stranger, he really got it all. Zhang Ying swallowed his saliva. My self-explosive soul beast didn't blow him through. The power of his self-detonating soul beast is no less than that of TNT explosives. Wu Shifeng sensed Dagon's AI engine's anger and said to his teammates, "The attack is effective. Let's continue." He also wants to replicate the results of the first attack. Although his hands were already dripping with blood, he still clenched the two heavy hammers tightly and headed towards Dagon Ki engine to kill. And the avatar also drew a bow and set an arrow, and another arrow piercing through the air roared towards Dagon's AI engine. Needless to say, Zhang Ying and Li Weihei cooperated again, just waiting for the moment when Dagon's AI engine was restrained and distracted by Wu Shifeng. He put the self-explosive soul beast on him. Even if the results are limited at the beginning, but there are so many of them, they can continue to try. Then we will definitely be able to find the weakness of Dagon's AI engine. But this time, they miscalculated. Dagon's AI engine put away his playful thoughts, raised the dragonfly cut with both hands, and launched an attack on his own initiative. The Yokozuna, who was more than 2 meters tall, swung the 3-meter long dragonfly Kirito and slashed at Wu Shifeng's head. Wu Shifeng's reaction speed was not slow. He raised the heavy hammer with both hands and stood in front of him. The moment the weapon collided, Wu Shifeng felt as if his arms had been hit head-on by a truck weighing tens of tons. His hands were completely numb all of a sudden, and the heavy hammer in his hand was directly sent flying. Wu Shifeng reacted quickly on the verge of life and death, and quickly rolled on the ground to avoid the falling dragonfly. The ground that had been scorched by incendiary bomb shattered immediately due to this blow. Large pieces of soil and gravel soared into the sky, falling down like waterfalls. Completely, not a level. Wu Shifeng broke out in a cold sweat. He just took over twice, and the first time the opponent didn't make a real move. His hands were about to be abolished. If the fight continues, he will definitely die. Not much, he still has hope, and that is his teammates. The arrow of the avatar pierced through the soil and shot at Dagon's AI engine. Zhang Ying and Li Weihei did not waste the momentary opportunity Wu Shifeng had won, and had already put a self-destructing soul beast on Dagon Yanjin's head. The crab clung to his head, and then began to explode. Dagon Yanjin's face was cold, and his right hand dragonfly blocked the attacking arrow casually. Then the other hand tore off the self-explosive soul beast from its head, then put it in the palm of the fat left hand, and gave it a firm grip. Puff! The self-explosive soul beast exploded, but it didn't explode completely. It is comparable to the power of TNT explosives, but at this time, it makes a dull sound like a fart. In the end, there was only a puff of black smoke rising from the palm of Dagon Yanjin. There was no expression of pain on his face. He spread out his palm very casually. The fat palm flesh was intact. With a mocking smile on his face, Dagon Yanjin deliberately opened his hands to show Zhang Ying and the others. "Is this your method? It's too weak. Only at this level dare to come and kill us. Isn't this sending you to death?" This terrifying power and defense made the three of them dumbfounded. The gap in absolute strength. How do they fight? At this moment, the ground beneath Dagon Yanjin's feet suddenly collapsed, and his huge body sank into it unsteadily. In the soil layer, a huge grey monster was exposed. It was a 2-meter long super mole with blood red eyes. Jia Heting of Huazhou City, a beastman ability user. The ability code name is Earth Zinxen. No matter how great your strength is, you can't use it if you don't have a foothold. Jia Heting made an ear-piercing and strange sound in the form of mole. Then, while Dagon Yanjin fell to the ground, its sharp claws stabbed Dagon Yanjin's body. The target is his most vulnerable place, chrysanthemum. Even a man of brass and iron bones, his rectum is soft. Director of an rectal department in the African savannah. No matter who it is, this set of an rectal surgery is absolutely unbearable. Although the method of digging anus is shameless, in the battle of life and death, any method that can kill the opponent is the best. This was also the first time that Zhang Yi felt a dangerous atmosphere, and the chrysanthemum tightened suddenly. Go to hell. The giant mole let out an ear-piercing cry and pointed its claws, which were like sabers, at Zhang Yi's chrysanthemum and stabbed it. When fighting in front of his teammates, Zhang Yi was waiting for such an excellent opportunity. At such a scene, even the people in the combat command center couldn't help stretching their necks, expecting Zhang Yi to succeed in one blow. But at this moment, a deafening roar erupted from the sunken cave. Zhang Yi finally used his ability, the mythical creature, Tide Tiger. Fiery air gushes out from his limbs, directly sending Zhang Yi's giant mole flying away. A gust of hot wind shot up into the sky from the cave, making Wu Shifeng and the others outside feel like they were being burned by the flames. A huge brown figure soared into the sky and then landed hard on the ground. At this time, Zhang Yi had turned into Cheohu, holding a huge dragonfly cut, and showed his fangs to Wu Shifeng and others. This time, he was really angry. No one can stay calm after almost getting their ass licked. Under the ground, Zhang didn't stop moving. He frantically started digging the ground. He. I'm underground. What can you do to me? As long as you give me a suitable opportunity, I will definitely tear out your intestines. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.